A very, very good morning to all of you, and I am C. Ridhima Bhatia. We are discussing today the two chapters, not one, in fact, chapter 5 and chapter 6, income of other persons included in SSC's total income, which we call commonly as clubbing, and your aggregation, set off, and carry forward of losses. So, welcome you all on a Sunday morning. I am glad that everyone is awake on a Sunday morning for studying. I think that is a very good spirit to keep on. Before we proceed, any particular doubt which you have? We can wait for a minute to other people settle in. So today's chapter, again, chapter 5 and chapter 6, will be beginning in just a few seconds. सबको अभी तक capital gain and other sources clear? In fact, any other head, maybe if you have any query, you may ask. Capital gain and in your case, if without set off 1 lakh उनको पूरा का पूरा मिल रहा है and there is no set off, so 1 lakh additionally would be taxable as dividend. The point is, when we talk about 222E, एक तो loan दे दिया, that is treated as a dividend. But if a company declares dividend again, and if they are paying it to him, then it is fine. Again, that would be taxable. But if they are not paying it to him and getting and taxing it, then obviously it will not be taxed as dividend again. Bana Reddy, I did not get any of your question up till now. Is there any query? Sure. Great. So with the new spirit now, हमारा heads of income over हो गए. Let's start with income of other persons. पहले let's come to one point. While computing the total income, do you think these are the steps? You add head one ka income, which is your salary income. Then you add your house property income. Then you add your PGBP income, right? Cap gain and other sources. Capital gain and other sources, right? Other sources ka income. Whatever this income comes, you will say this is total income. And इसमें से you will say कि ma'am, we will reduce the deductions, जैसे ATC, ATD, we'll see what are those tax saving deductions which are allowed for entire income, and then we'll get to taxable income, correct? This is how a computation of income happens. Gross total income, deductions reduce किया, taxable income आ जाए. Absolutely correct, but there are also two mini steps in between. One is called clubbing and another is called set off and carry forward. Before you proceed ahead to this step, after your all these income computed, you need to take care of these two checks. One is clubbing, another is set off and carry forward, and that both are our topic for today. So now let's begin with our chapter 5. What is clubbing? When I say clubbing, it is not clubbing which people do on a Saturday night. No. Clubbing means, if you see the chapter names, it says income of other persons included in assessee's total income. मतलब किसी और का income including in assessee का income. So suppose I am the assessee, I am being taxed for किसी और का income. So that is called clubbing provisions when someone else's income is getting taxed in my hands. I will pay tax on it. Now you will say, ma'am, why this will happen? Let's just see. So this entire process of including the other person's income in my income is called clubbing. Now, why would someone do this? First of all, why clubbing provisions there came a requirement. You know, income tax में एक benefit होता है when we talk about slab rates, right? अब एक income अगर flat rates है, the same income is taxable to me in 30% and taxable to other person 30%. That is a different point. But there is a concept called slab rates. Slab rates क्या है? जो more the income, more the tax, less the income, less the tax, or no tax. Correct? Now people think yourself here that एक person here, Mr. A, he has already an income of 10, say 18 lakhs. Okay. And then he's about to receive 2 lakhs extra for some interest. Already he's into a higher slab. Any over and above income, this 2 lakhs would be taxed at 30%. Now he acts very smart and he says that मेरी wife का तो कोई income नहीं आ रहा. Mrs. A does not have any income. Why do not I take this income into her bank account? और किसी को क्या ही पता चलेगा, right? Instead of getting the income in my account, why do not take this income to Mrs. A account? And वो तो account से account वो PAN से PAN check करेंगे तो obviously मेरे account में नहीं आएगा. तो I did not reflect it. And the moment Mrs. A shows her in her hand, on this 2 lakhs, she is not taxable at all because slab rates the benefits that this is the income below basic exemption limit. So in a way, he is avoiding this 30% liability. Correct? Instead of getting into his account, he transferred it to his wife's account, right? Now you will say, ma'am, ये तो tax planning का part है. No, this is evading the tax. So hence, where people cannot do such things, and where actually the income rightfully belongs to the SSC through some other route or the other, and he has just diverted either the assets or the income, then in those cases, clubbing provisions apply. What was the need? Is it clear? Because people used to take the benefit of slab rates or the lower tax rate. If किसी के पास losses extra है, तो मैं उसको divert कर देती थी कि सब he already has losses, so showing any additional income will not impact. But no, clubbing provisions are a check that if something is yours, then you will be taxed on it. Or if you're just diverting the income through some smart planning, then it will be taxed in your hands. ठीक है? Thanks a lot, Sneha. That's what see. Now let's understand क्या sections है. So there are from section 60 to 64, which we'll be studying under clubbing provisions. Each section talks about a particular type of income which might be clubbed. Okay? So let's begin. सबसे पहला सबसे पहला it is transfer of income without transfer of asset. I have transferred an income, but I have not transferred an asset. Asset transfer नहीं हुआ, owner मैं हूँ. तो अगर income उसका transfer हो रहा है, तो उसमें clubbing provision लग जाएगा. So section 60 says transfer of income without transfer of asset. So if I have Mr. A and there is son of Mr. A. ठीक है, Mr. A के पास godown है. He rented that godown. He is the owner of that house. He rented that house to some person, say Mr. M. But Mr. M को he said that you will transfer the rent money into my son's account. So what did Mr. A did? He did not make his son a owner, but he just gave an instruction to Mr. M that you will not deposit the income in my account, but you will deposit the income in my son's account. Okay. So now this is a typical case of diverting your income, Hence, in this provision, the whatever rent amount Mr. A ka son is getting, would be clubbed in Mr. A's hand. Okay. So if I'm diverting my income, but I'm not transferring the asset, so rightfully who is the owner? Obviously Mr. A is the owner. So rightfully the income should be taxed in the hand of Mr. A, correct? But since son of Mr. A is getting that income, so you will club it back to him. Obviously, when clubbing provision apply, the same income would be taxed. The income which is getting taxed in the hands of assessee will not get taxed in the hands of the other person. अगर वो A के hand में club हो गया, it will not get taxed again in the hands of the son. Correct? So clubbing provision का reason समझ आया? क्यों? Because आपने सिर्फ income divert करा. क्यों किया होगा? Obviously to take some tax benefit. What will happen? It will be clubbed in the hand of the main owner. So if any person transfers the income from any asset without transferring the asset, such income shall be included in the hands of in the total income of the transferor, who is Mr. A in my example. It is immaterial if the transfer is revocable or irrevocable. इसको 1 minute के लिए छोड़ देते हैं, ठीक है? It is immaterial whether the transfer was made before commencement of Income Tax Act. You cannot say that ये तो हमारा arrangement Act से भी पहले का है, तो it does not matter to us. No, clubbing provisions will apply. How will you show the clubbing? Similar, जहाँ rent इनका house property में जाता, here भी house property में जाएगा, but under the income of other persons included in assessee's total income. Okay. Mr. X, through a duly registered document, transfers the rent arising from a godown to his son without transferring the godown. As per the provisions of this section, such rental income will be clubbed in the hands of Mr. X. Clear? पहला provision clear? Tanupriya, please, I would request you to ask this question again at the end of the class, otherwise it will just break the momentum, okay? So, next करते हैं. So, is it easy? Yes. Next करते हैं. Income arising from revocable transfer of asset. मैम ये क्या मतलब है revocable transfer? Something which can be revoked. अब revocable transfer का क्या मतलब होता है? I am transferring it, but I'm still having a right on that asset. I'm still having a right on that asset directly, indirectly. That is called revocable transfer. If I give you something, okay, if I give you something, but at the same time I say कि this is yours, but इससे जो income आएगा वो मेरे को दे देना, ठीक है? या I can take this back anytime whenever I want. What did I say? That this belongs to you, but I can take it back anytime, whenever I want, or whatever the benefit you're deriving from this, I will get it. So I have made a transfer, but it is revocable. It can be revoked. It can come back to me, because now even if I transfer, still I assume a right on asset. That is called revocable transfer. In simple terms. So as अब revocable transfer का definition section 63 में दिया हुआ है. Any provisions for the retransfer, जहाँ पे there is a provision कि the transfer which I have made will come back to me directly or indirectly of the whole or any part of the income or the asset to the transferor, and it gives any way to the transferor a right to reassume the power, whether directly or indirectly, over over the whole or any part of the income or assets. So basically, if Mr. A has transferred something to not related Mr. B, but it had a condition that this transfer is only for 5-year periods, uske baad ye mera. That is also revocable transfer. This transfer is yours, but I can take back the transfer asset whenever I feel like. Even if paper में भी मैंने transfer कर दिए, सब कुछ हो गया, but it has a condition, it still has a power. I as a transferor still has a power on that asset to get it back. That is called revocable transfer. अगर अब ऐसा revocable transfer है, if there is a revocable transfer, that means it is just done for certain period. It is just done for certain period. So, us revocable transfer say if any income comes, it would be taxed in the hands of transferor. All income arising to any person by virtue of revocable transfer is included in the hands of transferor. Now, suppose isme, ma'am, how do you do it? Can you please elaborate? Yes. 1 second. Now suppose I know कि अभी मेरे को ना बहुत example अभी I have salary income, ठीक है? I have salary income and obviously the salary income suppose is 10 lakhs and I also have a rent on property which is coming. So what I do to avoid rent on property, I transfer the property to Mr. B. He's my very good friend. He's my brother only. Okay, I transferred the property to Mr. B. To Mr. A transferred the property to Mr. B. Clear transfer हुआ है पेपर में, ठीक है, like a gift. अब gift किया तो वो तो इनके हाथ में taxable नहीं होगा, कोई टेंशन ही नहीं है, ठीक है. So I transferred a property to Mr. B, my brother. अब इनके हाथ में भी taxable नहीं है. Why? Because he's a relative. Fine. And I tell Mr. B कि अभी I am earning income. Once I retire, then I will not have any income. You transfer this property back to me. You transfer this property back to me. Okay. So this is this a revocable transfer? Yes, it is a revocable transfer. Why did I make so? Because abhi I am letting that property in his hand. I'm letting that property in his hand, but with the condition that I will get it back once I retire. Then there would be no income. So whatever rent is there, I could pay tax on it. Because abhi rent मैं add करूँगी तो मुझे rent पे 30% tax लग जाएगा, and you have no other income. So abhi के लिए you become the owner and you include the rent in your income. But since the condition was that it is a revocable transfer because I will get it back after 5-6 years when I retire, suppose, or when Mr. A retires, that's why whatever income is being generated from the asset which is transferred or which happens under revocable transfer would be included in the income of transfer. Okay, so it would be included in the income of Mr. A. Simple सा बात है, if a person is transferring something with the condition to get it back or with a right or has any right on the income or the asset even after transferring, then that transfer is called revocable transfer. And revocable transfer, so whatever income arises gets clubbed in the hands of the transferor. Simple. Clubbing provision will operate even if only part of income of the transferred asset has been applied for the benefit of transfer. Ma'am, इसका क्या मतलब हुआ? Only part of the income, once the transfer is revocable, entire income is clubbed. Ma'am, did not understand this. So suppose Mr. A transferred a property to Mr. B with the condition that after 10 years, Mr. B will transfer this property back. Correct? This is called revocable transfer. Yes or no? Yes, this is a revocable transfer. Mr. A transferred a property to Mr. B with the condition that within 10 years, he will transfer this property back to Mr. A. Now, whatever income was coming from this asset would be clubbed in the hands of who? Mr. A. Correct? Yes. Another example. Mr. A transferred a property to Mr. B. Transferred a property to Mr. B. with the condition that whatever rent is generated on this asset, or whatever rent or whatever income is generated on that asset, उसका 50% Mr. B A के benefit के लिए apply करेगा. Mr. B would apply for the benefit of Mr. A. The income का whatever income is coming, so suppose करो if income is coming of 1 lakh and Mr. A ने कहा from that 1 lakh income you will do 50,000 of SIPs every month SIP for me. ठीक है, that is कि वो you are applying the income for the benefit of Mr. A, correct? This is also a revocable transfer because revocable transfer का definition में there is whereas there is a provision of free transfer directly or indirectly of the whole or any part of the income of the whole or any part of the income. So this is also revocable transfer, correct? You will say yes, but only part of the income is getting applied, not the entire income is getting applied for the benefit of Mr. A. But then also, even if the part of the income is getting applied, then also the entire income would be clubbed in the case of revocable transfer. Even if 50% he apply हो रहा था for the benefit of Mr. A, but since it is a revocable transfer, entire income will get clubbed. Since it's a revocable transfer, entire income will get clubbed. So what did I say? First, you will see whether it is a revocable transfer. When it could be a revocable transfer, when the assessee still has a right on the asset or on the income generated from that asset, or the assessee is getting any benefit from that asset. That is a revocable transfer, number 1. Number 2, the income would be clubbed in the hands of who? Transferor. Number 3, even if the transferor is getting a partial benefit from that income and not entire benefit, still the entire income would be taxed in the hands of transferor. Clear? किसी को कोई doubt? Pooja, we'll come to that. So, Shruti said there's an oral agreement between brother and sister for a revocable transfer. That does that in case also becomes a clubbing provision? Yes. Oral written does not matter. If the transferor is getting a right on that asset through getting it back after some years or through getting an income of that asset, or he's still the owner of that asset in all forms, this is a revocable transfer. Mahadev says in the first provision, which is section 60 wala, if Mr. A's sons is the owner, then income would not be clubbed. Because he did not transfer the ownership. So clubbing provisions in one we saw when you are not transferring the ownership, but you are just transferring the income, clubbing provision will apply. Second, we saw that you are transferring the ownership, but it is a revocable transfer. That means you will get back to it through some way or the other, either the income part of it or the asset itself. It is a revocable transfer, and revocable transfer means whatever income comes, it will be taxed in the hands of transfer. Correct? Now, एक difference है कि these are not called, even if it is a revocable transfer, still it will not be called as revocable, and hence clubbing will not apply. Ma'am, when the transfer is not revocable during the time of during the lifetime of the beneficiary. And when transfer is made before 1st April 1961 and it is not revocable for a period of 6 years, this is not relevant for you as much as this part is relevant. Transfer not revocable during the lifetime of beneficiary. I transferred an asset, or not I, Mr. A transferred an asset to Mr. B. ठीक है, Mr. B is the beneficiary. Okay, I understand that you do not have any source of income, so I think you should have this asset, and whatever income comes from it, you use it for your benefit. Okay. Mr. A is very dildar. He transferred an asset to Mr. B and said that since you are not having any income, whatever income comes to you, you get it. And once, if Mr. B dies, Mr. A will get back that property. If Mr. B dies, Mr. A will get back that property. Now you will say, ma'am, this is the provision of getting back. Then hence it is a revocable transfer. Because again, transfer may यहाँ पे there is the provision of getting back the asset, right? So ma'am, this is definitely a revocable transfer, but I say no. This is an exception. If the asset does not come back to the transfer during the lifetime of beneficiary, then it is not a revocable transfer which has to be clubbed. Has to be clubbed. Why? मैंने एक pure intention से और Mr. A ने pure intention से to help Mr. B out transfer the asset, right? अब कि Mr. B जब तक है वो तब तक उस asset का benefit ले, तब तक उस asset का benefit ले. So I had a pure intention to transfer the asset for the well-being of Mr. B, and obviously once Mr. B dies, then obviously the asset will come back to me. Then the asset would come back to me. So even if there's a provision to come back to the asset, but entire lifetime of the beneficiary, but during the entire lifetime of beneficiary, the asset is not getting back. The asset is not getting back. Hence, it's an exception. Then in this case, whatever Mr. B is generating the income from the asset which is transferred would not be clubbed. Simple सा है. Intention is कि the other person should get a benefit till he's alive. Since he's getting the benefit till he's alive, it was an intention to help this person out. Then whatever income is coming would be taxed in his hand. After the death, since even if after the death the asset would come back to Mr. A, but it would be an exception of revocable transfer. But अगर इस period में if during this period Mr. A ने कोई benefit ले लिया, कुछ भी benefit ले लिया, then clubbing provisions would apply. ठीक है, simple. Please read this exception and tell कि revocable transfer का exception clear हुआ, meaning clear हुआ, clubbing provisions clear हुआ. Yes, you can say, but you will not use the word payment. You will write the word, Somesh, you will write the word revocable transfer. Even if, Himanshu, there is a partial benefit to the transferor, then also entire income would be clubbed if it's a revocable transfer. See, Pooja, when the power to revoke the asset gets alive, as if फिर से अभी Mr. B के during the lifetime of Mr. B, the power of revoking the asset is alive in the hands of Mr. A. Mr. B ने बोला कि नहीं, Mr. A ने बोला no, I can have the asset whenever I want it back, maybe after the lifetime of beneficiary or whenever I want. That whenever I want आ गया तो revocable transfer हो गया, income would be taxable. Now to answer your question, even if the one time benefit is arise, अगर वो सिर्फ one time है, then only one time provisions would be applicable if there is no other right on the asset again in the future. Mahadev, where is the doubt? Because koi Jinsan Ram Manji bhi nikala. Okay, I did not get it. Sure. एक चीज याद रखना, where whatever is included in the income tax provisions, only their clubbing provisions will you apply. You will not apply clubbing provisions out of your mind. If it is not falling under the sections which we are discussing, clubbing will not apply. Section 60 क्या हुआ? Transfer of income without transfer of asset. Correct. Section 61, transfer income to be clubbed in case of revocable transfer. Revocable transfer क्या हुआ? When there is a right on a person to get back the asset, or he has a right on the income directly or indirectly, or on the asset during once the asset is transferred. Exceptions क्या है? अगर revocation happens after the lifetime of beneficiary, then nothing would be taxable in the hands of transferor. Simple. Now proceeding forward. Next is clubbing of income arising to spouse. Students, section 60 and section 61. Section 60 and 61, and then there is section 64 onwards where the clubbing provisions are there in subsection 1. Okay, and then subsections 2 mein there is for HUF. Section 60 and 61 applies to any person. Any person means companies transferring an asset to other person, HUF is transferring an asset to other person, HUF is transferring the income without transferring the asset. So any person के case में clubbing can happen. Okay, like from one person to another. But section 64 talks about clubbing provisions in the hands of individual. तो अगर specific provision apply हो रहा है तो you will not apply general provisions. This is for any person. So अगर individual के case में a specific provision is getting applied, then you will not apply section 60, 61. Section 64 talks about clubbing in the hands of individual. Okay, now let's begin. Clubbing of income arising to spouse. Income by way of remuneration from a concern in which the individual has substantial interest. Now, Abhi, the category which we'll be studying now, there are 3 categories when spouse ka income is clubbed. Spouse ka income means wife ka ya husband ka income gets clubbed in the hands of the assessee. In the hands of the assessee. Usme there are 3 main rules where the spouse is getting a remuneration, or where the spouse is getting income from any asset which is transferred to her, or where the spouse is getting an income from any asset transferred to any person but for the benefit of spouse. ये 3 income है. So spouse का income when will get clubbed? सबसे पहला is when income is earned by way of remuneration from a concern in which individual has substantial interest. अब अपने mind में you have to take yourself as assessee and you will understand. बहुत time what happens is, if a person is running a business, I will take Mr. A for example again. Mr. A is running a business, okay? He's the owner of that business, correct? वो क्या करते हैं? What does Mr. A do? He shows that salary is given to Mrs. A, and salary ka he claim deduction number 1 in his business. Correct. In his business, he will claim deduction, and Mrs. A ke haath mein what will happen? Salary would be taxable. But Mrs. A does not have that much income where she has to pay tax. So suppose salary is 2,40,000. So 2,40,000 would be taxable here, and 2,40,000 का income profit में से deduction मिल जाएगा, right? Now Mrs. A is just getting free fund ka salary. Free fund ka salary means she is not doing any work. She does not have any concerned qualification which is required here for the salary payment. So in that case, whatever income Mrs. A is getting from a concern where individual or his relative has substantial interest, then in that case, the salary income would be clubbed in the hands of individual, that is Mr. A. Here we are only talking about the remuneration. Again, students, this type of arrangement is very common. Let me take you through another example first. Mr. A is a partner in firm. Okay? ABC Limited. Mrs. ABC, sorry. He's a partner in firm for 1/3 share. 33.33% share. Okay? Better. Mr. A is the partner in a firm. Now that partnership firm is paying salary to Mrs. A. Partnership firm is paying salary to Mrs. A. And Mrs. A is just getting a salary out of nowhere so that the profits of the firm can be diverted in a manner, and ultimate benefit would be obviously of Mr. A, because Mrs. A ko to sirf salary for the face of it mil raha hai. Mrs. A nowhere is working as a full-time employee, or Mrs. A is not having that skill jiske liye Mrs. A is getting paid. So whatever salary income Mrs. A would be getting would be taxed in the hands of, or would be clubbed in the hands of Mr. A. Simple. Okay. So, but again and again, I'm saying the salary is a free fund. Free fund मतलब कुछ qualification नहीं है उस salary के लिए, or there is no qualification, or there is no work experience which is there, or she's not actually working, just the salary is going like this. In that case, only clubbing provisions would apply. But if Mrs. A is qualified enough to do a particular job and she's rightfully getting salary for it, then clubbing provisions would not apply. Intent of clubbing is when a person is actually playing with the income diversion to some other person, right? That is the intent of clubbing. But when Mrs. A is actually getting a salary income because of her skills, she is rightfully knowledged for doing that task and she is getting a salary for it, then there is no problem, Baba. Then there is no problem. Then clubbing provisions would not apply. Even if here Mr. A is not directly paying, but who is paying? A concern is paying. A concern where Mr. A or the relative, including has a substantial interest. Then in this case, whatever income is getting paid to Mrs. A would be clubbed in the hands of individual, not in the concern's hand, but in the hands of individual. Clear? एक और एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं. मुकेश अंबानी से एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं. ठीक है, so it's Reliance. Mukesh Ambani has a substantial interest in Reliance because he is the owner of Reliance India Private Limited. Okay? He's the owner, he has a substantial interest. What is the substantial interest? Where the person holds at least 20% of the voting power, or if it is not a company, at least 20% of the profit sharing. Okay? Mukesh Ambani has Reliance में ownership. Now, if Reliance pays a salary to Mrs. Ambani, I think it is not readable. if Reliance pays salary to Mrs. Ambani, will that be clubbed directly? Will that be clubbed in the hand of Mukesh Ambani? The answer is no. First, you have to see whether the salary which is paid to Mrs. Ambani is for the skills she's actually having and is for the job role she's actually doing. Then clubbing would not happen. So suppose she's getting 50,000, it's very less. She's getting 5 lakh per month for her for the consultancy she provides. Okay, for the consultancy she provides, she's capable of giving that consultancy. That's why clubbing would not apply. But suppose Reliance is giving Mrs. Ambani rupees so and so amount as salary for doing the work in factory. But we all know she's not doing a work in factory, or she does not have that skills to do the work in factory. That means then in that case clubbing would apply, because the salary income paid to Mrs. Ambani is not for the skills or not for that job role which she is doing. Okay, as simple as that. Agar wo genuine case hai, no clubbing provisions. If there is not a genuine case but mere diversion of funds, clubbing provisions would be applicable. Now you will ask, okay, first 1 second. So, अब substantial response क्या हुआ? This we got. अगर we are talking about a concern which is company, then 20% or more of the voting power held by the individual or his relatives. यानी अगर individual का सिर्फ 10% share है, but उसका brother का भी 10% share है, that means substantial interest हो गया. So, agar Mr. Ambani has only 10% share and his son has 10% shares, that means it's a substantial interest wala company where the individual has a substantial interest. Okay? And in any other case, we talk about when the person or his relative is entitled for 20% or more of the profit sharing. This is the meaning of substantial interest. And relative में कौन आएगा? Husband, wife, brother, sister, lineal ascendant, descendant, or of that individual. So, if assessee का share plus उसके relatives का share, if it's equal to or more than 20%, then it is a case of substantial interest. सबसे पहले you will look for substantial interest. Then you will look for whether the skills for which the salary is paid, whether her spouse or his spouse has that skill. If yes, then no clubbing. If no, then clubbing provisions. Clear? All income which arises directly to the spouse, directly or indirectly to the spouse by way of salary, commission, fees, or any other form of remuneration, whether in cash or in kind, from a concern in which individual has a substantial interest, shall be clubbed with the total income of individual. अब एक और query आता है, where both husband and wife have substantial interest in a concern and दोनों को income मिल रहा है, such income shall be clubbed in the hands of the person who has a higher income excluding the salary income. Up you will say Mukesh Ambani is there and Neeta Ambani is there. Okay? And they both have substantial interest. Obviously, if Mr. Mukesh Ambani has substantial interest, then automatically Neeta Ambani also has a substantial interest because relative, remember? And both are getting salary. Mukesh Ambani is also getting salary. Neeta Ambani is also getting salary. And the provision that qualification wala does not apply to either of them. Then you will say, ma'am, kiske hand mein taxability would happen? Then you will ask, ma'am, kiske hand mein taxability would happen? The clubbing provision would happen. The clubbing provision would happen in the hand of those person who has a higher income excluding the salary income. So if salary is 5 lakhs and here salary is 3 lakhs. Okay, and Mr. Mukesh Ambani has other salary except this, or other income except this salary, say suppose of 15 lakhs. So these are very less figures for them, but yeah. And Nita Ambani has other income except the salary of say 20 lakhs. Then clubbing provisions would apply in the hands of Nita Ambani. So her income would be 20 plus 3 lakhs her own salary plus 5 lakhs the salary which is getting clubbed in the hands of Nita Ambani. Okay? And obviously the exception we have done, income shall not be clubbed and shall be assessed in the hands of spouse if spouse possess the technical or professional qualification and such income is solely attributable to the application of his or her knowledge and experience. क्लियर हुआ? पक्का से किसी को कोई डाउट? See, to be a partner, there is no need for qualification, but suppose you're not getting the salary as a partner because salary as a partner तभी मिलता है if you're a working partner giving any contribution. But here the salary is for some work जो actually आप suppose करो एक computer technician का work करा रहे हो but मेरे पास computer technician का knowledge ही नहीं है but you are showing that we have given salary for a computer technician work. So that is a typical case where you are just diverting the funds. That's why the taxability will not happen. Sorry, that's why the clubbing will happen. Okay, Pooja, 1 second. Okay, so Shruti has an interesting question. If a revocable transfer is made to get back the asset after 5 years, till that time all the proceeds has to be used for the benefit of transfer. Then in case clubbing would happen, even if there is even if the transfer will happen back after 5 years, income is applied for the benefit of beneficiary, but the asset is revocable, clubbing provisions will apply. Harsh, where is the doubt? If substantial interest is not there, an individual does not have qualification and get remuneration, will clubbing provision will apply? No. See, the idea is where, first of all, it would happen very less. Students, idea something. Substantial interest क्या मतलब है? Why they have kept the word substantial interest? Substantial, when I have 20% of work power, that means I have a right to take decisions in such company. I can modify the decisions, or I can influence the decision of such concern. If I, being an individual, have a substantial interest in a company, that means I'm in a power, or a company or a concern or anything, I have a power to influence the decision. So when I have a power to influence the decision, that means I can use the benefit. I can get a benefit from that power, right? And that benefit I'm not directly getting to myself. मैं चाहती तो मैं अपने account में salary लेके, but it would have been taxable, right? Whether in the hands of concern or otherwise, because then 40B का condition लग जाता अगर partnership form होता है. But then what I do, I act very smart and I say कि मेरे को salary मत दो, ठीक है? Give the salary to my spouse. अब घर का बात है, I'll take it from her, give it to her. You will get the deduction also, and she does or he does not have a taxable income, so nothing would be taxable. So it's a win-win situation, but the income tax authority says no. If you have in a concern have a substantial interest and that concern is paying something to your spouse for which spouse does not have any skills or she is not performing the role, then in that case, whatever the salary spouse is getting would be taxed in the hands of individual, as simple as that. So first condition is concerned with substantial interest owner. Why the condition is important of substantial interest? Because only then it means that I have a power to influence the decision. Now, when I have a power to influence the decision, I can divert the funds in some way or the other. And I diverted the funds to my spouse in the form of salary. In the form of salary. That's or the remuneration. That would be club. That would be club. So let's do one question on this note. Mr. A holds shares carrying 25% voting power in XP Private Limited. Sorry, X Private Limited. Mrs. A is working as a computer software programmer in X Private Limited at a salary of 30,000 per month. She, however, is not qualified for the job. The other income of Mr. A and Mrs. A are 7 and 4 lakhs respectively. Compute the gross total income of Mr. A and Mrs. A for the assessment year 2022-23. Assuming that they do not opt for Section 115 PAC, this is not important. Okay. Now, Mr. A has substantial interest in X Private Limited. Yes. X Private Limited is giving salary to Mrs. A 30,000 per month. Mrs. A, does Mrs. A have the qualification? No. Clubbing provisions will apply. In whose hand the income would be clubbed? In the hands of the individual, because he is in the position to make influence X Private Limited to divert the funds in the form of salary to Mrs. A. So hence now the income would be Mr. A ke hand mein. What would be the income? In the same manner, it would get clubbed had it would have been taxed in the hands of spouse. In the same manner, it would be clubbed. Salary income ke head mein you will show 30,000 into 12, 3,60,000. Standard deduction of 50,000. Do not forget that. See, whatever the income is clubbed in the exact same manner as it would have been taxed in the hands of the other person who is actually earning. Same manner. 50,000 ka deduction diya, 3,10,000 plus 7 lakh. So total income of Mr. A would be 10,10,000. Simple. Up Mrs. A ke hand mein, what would be the taxability? The income which she is earning 4 lakh other than salary plus 30,000. No, because one income would be taxed in one person hands only, not in multiple hands. So 4 lakh would be her income. Simple. Now next question here it is that would your answer be different if Mrs. A was qualified for doing the job? Yes, the answer would be different. If Mrs. A would have been qualified for doing the job, then clubbing would not happen. So Mr. A ka income kitna hota taxable? 7 lakh. And Mrs. A ka income would have been 4 lakh plus 3,10,000, which would have been 7,10,000. Correct? Yes. Clear हुआ? Now अब बताओ किसी को कोई doubt? Very good, Akshni. नो सब यहाँ पे क्लबिंग प्रोविजंस जो प्रोविजंस देखो बहुत सारी थिंग्स एक्चुअली हो सकते हैं एक्चुअली डाइवर्ट हो सकता है फंड पूजा बिकॉज ऑफ अदर फैक्टर्स बट नो वेयर द इनकम टैक्स प्रोविजन से सब्सटैंशियल इंटरेस्ट नो स्किल्स क्लबिंग डायरेक्ट इसके अलावा कोई कंडीशन है इट वुड नॉट बी क्लब एज सिंपल एज दैट यू कैन से कि सब्सटैंशियल इंटरेस्ट नहीं है तब भी ट्रांसफर कर दिया डज नॉट मैटर रियल लाइफ में अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स हैपन व्हिच actually are diverting funds. But whatever provisions are happening here as per income tax, only then you will apply clubbing, not otherwise. Harsh, is it clear now? Pooja? बेनिफिट तो नहीं है ना धर्म, और अगर क्लबिंग हो रहा है इट इज व्हाई बिकॉज assessee transferred the fund to reduce the tax liability, and income tax authority says no, it is your income, you have to pay tax on it, you are playing with the fund and we will not allow it. तो benefit obviously नहीं है. Clubbing provisions are the checking provisions which from the income tax department which restrict you to misuse your income or divert the funds. किसी को कोई डाउट अब तक? It is actually easy chapter to keep it. Previous example was where the person has skills. Yes, it was outside the purview. Hence, clubbing was not taxable. धर्मवीर, आप income divert कर रहे हो to reduce tax burden, which is not legal. That's why it is getting clubbed. It is not legal. You are acting just smart, as in the assessee just acting smart to divert the funds, thinking कि what income tax department को कैसे पता चलेगा, but income tax department has kept the check. You did it with an idea of saving your tax, but income, it is not correct, right? It is not correct, right? It is not correct. That's why it is getting clubbed. No, you don't have to see the benefit. तो हुआ ही नहीं तो clubbing क्यों कर रहे? The idea of clubbing is to catch hold of such transactions where a person is not rightfully reducing the tax burden. First thing I said in the class today was that these are not smart tax planning techniques. These are tax evading techniques. That's why clubbing happens. If you want to reduce the tax burden, make investments, make tax saving investments. The government will rightfully allow you to have the tax benefit. ठीक है, अब आगे चलते हैं इंटरेस्टिंग एक और टॉपिक पे. So one clubbing provision which we just saw was clubbing of remuneration income, when the spouse is getting the remuneration from a company where individual has from a concern where individual has substantial interest and the spouse did not have any skills for that remuneration, then clubbing would happen in the hands of individual. Okay, we saw though. Now another is where income is arising from an asset transferred without adequate consideration or without any consideration to spouse. So suppose I transferred some debentures. I नहीं करते, spouse ही लेते हैं, Mr. M को Mr. Roy को लेके आते, ठीक है? Better. Mr. Roy transferred debentures in the name of Mrs. Roy. Mr. Roy transferred debentures in the name of Mrs. Roy. अब without any consideration, Mrs. Roy ने कुछ consideration नहीं pay किया. Out of love and affection, Mrs. Roy got the debentures. ठीक है? Now, Mrs. Roy could whatever debentures पे interest would be happening, whatever debentures पे income would be happening, would be clubbed in the hands of whom? Mr. Roy. अब आप गिफ्ट प्रोविजंस लगाओगे, मैम गिफ्ट तो टैक्सेबल नहीं है, करेक्ट? ये डिबेंचर्स मिलना इज नॉट टैक्सेबल बिकॉज इट इज अ गिफ्ट बिटवीन रिलेटिव्स. आई एम नॉट सेइंग ऑन दैट, बट द इनकम व्हिच इज अराइजिंग फ्रॉम द एसेट ट्रांसफर्ड, the income which is arising from the asset transferred would be clubbed in the hands of the transferor, would be clubbed in the hands of transferor. Simple. Where there is a transfer of asset, ये दो स्टार्स क्यों लगाए हैं? I'll tell you. For inadequate consideration. Inadequate consideration means there is no consideration paid or the consideration paid is very less. Any income arising to the transferee from the transferred asset, either directly or indirectly, shall be clubbed with the total income of the transferor. Simple. But these either are for inadequate consideration or otherwise they are in a connection with agreement to live apart. मैम इसका क्या मतलब हुआ? See, live apart का agreement का क्या मतलब होता है? Generally divorce or otherwise, if you are transferring debentures as an alimony, right? No consideration is paid. Then in that case, interest would not be clubbed. If you are transferring some asset as an alimony क्या होता है? As a compensation which is given for agreement to live apart में, ठीक है? In that case, that alimony के part में आपने asset transfer करा, you will say कि obviously consideration is not paid. No, that is an exception to this. Okay, so if Mr. Roy transfers an asset to Mrs. Roy, any income from that asset, any income from that asset would be clubbed in the hands of Mr. Roy, provided no consideration was paid on such transfer, okay, or inadequate consideration was paid. But यहाँ पे the asset student, which I am referring to, is other than house property. Ma'am, other than house property, why? I am saying the asset which is being referred here is other than house property. That means if Mr. Roy transfer house property to Mrs. Roy, and whose house property say, if from that house property any income is generated, suppose rent is generated, then rent would not be clubbed in the hands of Mr. Roy. Would not be clubbed. You see why? Because एक section पढ़ा था आपने, section 27. If you remember section 27, deemed ownership. If you remember section 27, it was deemed ownership. याद है कुछ? आया किसी को याद? Section 27 says that if a person transfers a property to his spouse or her spouse for an inadequate consideration, or for no consideration, then the house property के deemed owner transferor ही होंगे. The house property का deemed owner would be the transferor, other than by an agreement to live apart. Remember? So house property का deemed owner Mr. Roy है. So whatever rent is getting generated from this house property, ultimately is getting taxed in the hands of Mr. Roy as an owner. यहाँ पे please ध्यान से everyone, Mr. Roy is the owner only from the house property which is being transferred for an inadequate consideration. If he himself is the owner, then he will show rental income as his income. Other clubbing provisions would not apply. I'm not saying that it would not be taxable in the hands of Mr. Roy. It is taxable in the hands of Roy, but in the hands of Mr. Roy, but as an income himself, At his income itself. Why his income himself? Because he was the owner as per section 27. Clubbing, clubbing happens when it is other person's income and you are taxing it in your hand, right? That is clubbing. But as per section 27, even if he has transferred the property, but he's still the owner of the house as per the deeming ownership provisions, right? And now, since he is the owner, the income would be taxed in his hands only, right? The income would be taxed in his hands only. Clubbing is not applied. The word clubbing wala provision is not applied because it is his income. Why it is his income? Because he is the owner. He is the owner. Why he is the owner? Because he is a deemed owner. Deemed owner and owner, section 27 say, renting income is already income of Mr. Roy only. So why clubbing would happen? Clubbing ka to matlab is when some other person's income is getting taxed in your hand, right? But yahan pe rent income is of Mr. Roy himself. So section 27 will come into picture, not section 64. Section 64 is not getting coming into picture. Why? Because Mr. Roy is the owner. The income is of Mr. Roy only from the very beginning. So clubbing would not apply. But had here been some other asset other than house property like debentures, jewelry, anything. So whatever income is arising from that asset would have been clubbed as per the provisions of section 64. समझ आया? This is a very, very, very important point and many people यहाँ पे क्या करते हैं? Clubbing लगा देते हैं. But house property के case में the ownership has not changed. The ownership is of the transferor only. And when he is the owner, he has to show the income. When he is showing the income, so clubbing का तो point ही नहीं आया. Correct? So, other than house property, because in the case of house property, deeming provisions as per section 27 are applied, and as per that, the person himself is the owner. So, no clubbing provisions. Clear? This is a very, very, very important point and people miss such important points. So tell me if there's any doubt. Correct. Very good, Mukta. Very good, Mahadev. Good. This point is very important to be clear. So, house property case mein ownership has not changed as per section 27. Hence, Mr. Roy is the owner. It is his income. So, that's why when we talk about transfer of asset to spouse for inadequate consideration, we talk about asset other than house property under section 64. Correct. Clubbing का मतलब is adding some other person income. Hence, house property case में clubbing is not happening. Correct, Sumesh. So, section 64, subsection 1, clause 4 would be applicable to any other asset except your asset which is house property, because house property club, again I say house property with clubbing provisions are not applicable because it is ownership provisions which are applicable. Then another point which you have to remember is income arising from the transferred asset alone is to be clubbed. Income earned from investing, such income shall not be clubbed. An example, so basically income from the accretion of the transferred asset is not to be clubbed. Example, Mr. Roy had transferred what? Had transferred debentures. Transferred debentures to Mrs. Roy. Asset transferred for inadequate consideration. So whatever interest is getting earned, suppose 1 lakh ka interest was getting earned. Okay? So 1 lakh per annum, per month interest was coming from those debentures. So 12 lakhs would be taxable in the hands of who? Mr. Roy. Okay, as per clubbing provisions, right? Now, Mrs. Roy did what? From this 1 lakh per annum, whatever was coming, Mrs. Roy made an FD. From the debentures का interest, whatever income was generated from the interest income, Mrs. Roy made an FD out of it. अब उस FD पे भी obviously interest is coming. So will this be clubbed in the hands of Mr. Roy? This is the question. When an income is further invested, and from that further invested income, whether any income is generated, whether that would be clubbed? No. Only the income from the asset which is transferred, that would be clubbed. Only the income from the asset which is transferred, that would be clubbed. अब उस clubbed वाले income से if something else is generated, like FD interest in this case, the income would not be clubbed. ठीक है? If the asset transferred by the individuals is invested in business, so इस पे question आता है, so please be careful. If the asset transferred by individual is invested in the business of the transferee, proportionate income arising from such investment is to be clubbed in the hands income of transferor. Such proportion has to be computed taking into account the value of a set of investment on the first day of the previous year to the total investment. Ma'am, what is this all thing? Obviously. Now, both okay, Mr. Roy. Let's take Mr. Joy. Mr. Joy gave 10 lakhs to Mrs. Joy, and Mrs. Joy needed those income for investing in her partnership firm or for investing in a business. ठीक है? अब ये income से क्या generate होगा? क्योंकि where is this income? Where is this asset invested? In the business. So business से what income is generated? Profit is generated. So hence profit would be clubbed. Correct? Hence profit would be clubbed. This we all agree on. Mr. Joy gave 10 lakhs to Mrs. Joy, and Mrs. Joy invested that in business. What is the income generated from that 10 lakh wala asset? First income which is generated is profit. Correct? A profit would be clubbed. Yes, the profit would be clubbed. But how much profit would be clubbed? You have to take the balance for the opening year. Opening year में opening balance के capital के according you will see how much profit has to be clubbed. So suppose the profit earned during the year by Mrs. Joy was 5 lakhs. Unitary method for a total capital contribution of 50 lakhs. 50 lakhs का contribution करके she has earned 5 lakhs का profit during the year. And out of that 50 lakhs, how much was taken from Mr. Joy? 10 lakhs. So what would be the clubbed amount of profit? 1 lakh rupees. Simple. Again, इसमें कुछ rectification नहीं है. इस income से कितना profit generate हुआ? That would be clubbed. अब अगर 50 lakhs में से 5 lakh was generated, that means 10 lakhs में से कितना is generated? 1 lakh. Unitary method. So that 1 lakh would be clubbed in the hands of Mr. Joy. Let us take one example. Mr. Weber started a proprietary business on 1st April 2020 with a capital of rupees 5 lakhs. Okay? He incurred a loss of rupees 2 lakhs during the year 2021. To overcome the financial position, his wife, Mrs. Vaishali, a software engineer, gave a gift of rupees 5 lakhs on 1st April 2021, which was immediately invested in the business of Mr. Weber. He earned a profit of 4 lakhs during the year 21-22. Compute the amount to be clubbed in the hands of Mrs. Vaishali for the assessment year 22-23. If Mrs. Vaishali gave the said amount as loan, what would be the part? What would be the amount to be clubbed? ये वाला part अभी छोड़ देते हैं. Okay, this part abhi we are leaving. Pehle we do it up till now. Now first, how much Vaishali gave? In the previous year, 21-22, how much Vaishali gave? Vaishali gave 5 lakhs. So the asset transferred here is of 5 lakhs. Okay. We do not club the asset, we club the income. I am saying again and again. How much profit was earned during the year? 4 lakhs. is the entire income has to be clubbed of this profit? No, only the part which is earned from this 5 lakh. What part is earned from this 5 lakh? 4 lakh was the entire income for profit. I told you you have to take opening balances. 5 lakh was what which Vishali gave. But what was the opening balance of the capital? Opening balance कितना हुआ? Simple. Opening balance कैसे निकालेंगे? पहले 2021 में 5 lakh was the investment which Weber made, but out of that 2 lakh का loss हो गया, so 3 lakh happened, right? अब इस 3 lakhs में 5 lakhs were invested, so total capital कितना हो गया? 8 lakhs. For the year, how much was invested in the business for 21-22? 8 lakh was invested in the business. 3 lakh which was being carried forwarded and 5 lakhs given by Vishali. Okay. So out of this 4 lakhs was earned. 8 lakhs की capital में 4 lakhs was earned. So how much should be clubbed? जितना 5 lakhs को belong होते हैं. So unitary method say 4 lakhs divided by 5 upon 8, which is 2.5 lakh, which would be clubbed in the hands of Vishali. Clear हुआ? Now, if this amount would have been given as loan, then clubbing provisions would not apply. Because until you're transferring the entire asset, Vishali gave the entire 5 lakhs rupees. That means the transfer had happened, then clubbing provisions would apply. But if the loan is there, that means they will repay it back, then clubbing provisions would not apply. ये part clear हुआ? यहाँ पे remember always, if you're taking the profit for the entire year, you will take the capital at the beginning of the year, the entire capital at the beginning of the year, and the contribution which was there at the beginning of the year. Because you're assuming that whatever you have invested on the first day of the year, from that you are generating the profit. Okay? Generally at your level, in fact, the question which would be coming would be of the beginning of the year wala. But suppose, ma'am, you will say, ma'am, what if the transfer has happened, especially in business wala case, during the year? So during the year, if the transfer has happened, then in that year the profit would not be clubbed. Then in that year the profit would not be clubbed because you have to take the capital from the beginning of the year. Very, very, very good. Mukta, what is the question? So everyone has got the correct answer. Loan is Mukta saying loan will not form part of the income. No, so clubbing is not applied. No, loan is not will not form in the category of transferred asset. Since it is not in the category of transferred asset, hence income would not be clubbed. ठीक है? Clear? So, आपके पेपर में a 4 marker or 5 marker question will come, and such type of questions will only come. Salary remuneration wala, business wala, most commonly, and then minor child wala. These are the most common questions. But you have to write everything that as per provision of so and so, the asset is transferred, hence the income has to be clubbed. The income here is profit, hence we are clubbing it. The profit which has to be calculated as per clubbing provision would be taken up by taking the capital which is invested at the beginning of the year. The opening balances of the beginning of the year has to be taken, and then you have calculated the share. You have to write all the things in your exams to get the full marks. If it is in the middle of the year, then in that year, the profit would not be calculated. Then going forward वाले years में it would be जब वो opening capital का part बन जाएगा. ठीक है? Clear? Next and last thing, spouse के case में clubbing will happen is when you transfer the asset for the benefits of spouse, section 64 subsection 1 clause 7. Mr. A transferred the asset to Mr. M, and he said that whatever is coming from that asset, you give it to my wife. You give it to my wife. So the asset is transferred for the benefit of spouse. In that case, whatever the income is getting generated from this asset would be clubbed in the hands of Mr. A. This is very typical. It will not come much in your exam, but you should know. So if the asset is transferred directly or indirectly to any person or association of persons, and income arising from such asset to the person or the association of person is used by the transferee for the immediate or deferred benefit of the transferor spouse, then clubbing provisions would apply. So suppose Mr. A is giving 5 lakhs every month, 5 lakhs to Mr. M, and he ultimately says कि इसका jewelry बना के give it to Mrs. A, and now jewelry वो Mrs. A ने sell out कर दिया. So उस jewelry से whatever capital gain would come would be taxable in the hands of Mr. A through clubbing provisions. Simple. ठीक है? So spouse के case में what all 3 incomes would be clubbed? One is the remuneration income, which is earned from a concern in which the individual has a substantial interest and the spouse does not have the skill. Second is from the transfer of asset, which is given for inadequate or no consideration, except for living in except for an agreement of living apart. In that case, other than house property, all the income would be clubbed because house property when the deemed ownership applies. Okay, all the income would be clubbed. Remember, only the asset income has to be clubbed. The accreted income means which is earned from the income of the asset which is transferred. उससे कुछ income आ रहा है, that would not be clubbed. In case of business, you have to remember the profit is the income and hence it would be clubbed, but proportionately to the investment made by the transferor to the total investment in the business at the beginning of the year. Third is when you transfer the asset to any other person for the benefit of your spouse, then whatever income comes would be clubbed in your hand. First and second are extremely important. Please do not forget them. उसके अलावा clubbing provisions also apply when you transfer any asset to son's wife. Spouse वाला very important. आ गया question में, समझ आ गया. Son's wife is just a minute task. Yeah. When you transfer any asset to son's wife मतलब your daughter-in-law. So if Mr. Mohan transfers an asset, and that asset can be property here also, because property में clubbing provisions only apply when you transfer it to your spouse or your minor child, right? So you transfer the properties to son's wife. So suppose son's wife is Rita. Okay, let's say Rita. So Mr. Mohan transferred the property to son's wife. Whatever income is getting incurred or get generated from this asset would be clubbed in the hands of Mr. Mohan. Now you will ask, ma'am, if a property is transferred to son, उसमें clubbing provisions would apply? No. Income tax में only transfer of asset to spouse is covered and transfer of assets to daughter-in-law are covered. That's why only these two asset में से whatever income is generated, that is clubbed. Otherwise, it is not clubbed. Obviously, the asset which is transferred here is for inadequate or no consideration. Then only clubbing provisions would apply. Where there is a transfer of an asset here, including house property. Why including house property? Because deeming provision under section 27 does not apply when you transfer a house property to son's wife. Hence, here house property would also be included. Okay. So where there is a transfer of asset for inadequate consideration by father-in-law or mother-in-law, any income arising to the transferee, that is your daughter-in-law, from the transferred asset, either directly or indirectly, shall be clubbed with the total income of transferor, who is father-in-law or mother-in-law. And this business wala part is same. That if you're given a cash and your daughter-in-law has invested in the business, then you will club the profit. How much profit you will club? Proportionately to the balance which is at the opening of the year of your contribution divided by total capital for that particular year at the opening of the year. Okay, so this is extremely simple wala question. Then we move forward to another very important section, which is minor. Clubbing income of minor. Minor is who? Who is less than an age of 18 years. Who is minor? Minor. अभी तक हमने clubbing income individual के case में we saw of spouse, we saw of son's wife. Now we are talking about minor. Who is minor? The person who is of the age of 18 or less than 18. A minor ko whatever income the minor is getting would be clubbed in the hands of the parent. What is the income the minor is getting? It would be clubbed in the hands of parent. Including the minor married daughter also would be clubbed in the hands of parent, I repeat. But you will say, ma'am, once a parent, father, mother. First of all, the income would be clubbed in the hands of the parent who has a higher income excluding the minor income. So if Mr. A has 10 lakhs ka income and Mrs. A has 15 lakhs ka income excluding minor ka income, then clubbing provision will happen in the hands of Mrs. A. Ab yahan pe interesting thing is that once an income starts getting clubbed of minor in one parent, it would be clubbed in that parent only for the subsequent years also. So, अगर मेरा previous year 2021 में 10 lakh का income था of Mr. A and Mrs. A का 15 lakh का income था, and first time the clubbing income was happening for minor child, and we said that the parent whose income is higher, in those hands the income would be clubbed. So you club it in the hands of Mrs. A. Now, in previous year 21-22, if Mr. A's income is 12 lakhs and Mrs. B's income is 10 lakhs, excluding minor ka income, then the clubbing provision will apply in whose hand? In Mrs. A only. Once clubbing provision starts applying in one parent hands, it will go in the same parent hands always, even if in the subsequent years, this parent is earning less than the other parent. Or this parent ka income is less than the other parent ka income. Okay? So, always the clubbing provisions apply in the hands of the same parent unless assessing officer thinks that the income tax authority thinks that we should change the person in whose income in whose hand the income has to be taxable. Till that time, it will go on and on in the same parent hand. Number one. Number two, minor ka income would always be clubbed, which I told you, but there are certain exceptions which will come to. Number three, if the parents are divorced, then in whose hand the income would be clubbed? In the hand of the parent who is maintaining the child. जिसके साथ the minor is staying, उनके hand में it would be taxable irrespective of who is earning higher or not. So if they live apart, they're in the hands of the parent who is maintaining the child. Okay, ma'am, adopted children are also included? Yes, adopted children are also included. Once the clubbing provisions apply in case of minor, the parent gets an exemption of 1,500 per minor child per annum, or the actual income, whichever is less, as deduction. or the actual income, whichever is less as deduction. Ma'am, did not understand. So first of all, clubbing क्यों apply हुआ minor पे? Because parents used to divert the funds in the hands of minor's child कि ठीक है FD अपने नाम पे ना करा के minor के नाम पे करा देते हैं, so that interest would not be taxable in hands. But section 64(1)(a) के according interest would now be taxable. Why? Clubbing provisions would apply, and as per that, minor income would be clubbed in your hands. Minor income would be clubbed in your hands. The moment that interest is clubbed, you can claim a deduction of rupees 1500 per annum per child. It is no child limit. You can have it for 1 child, 2 child, 3 child, 4 child, no problem. And then you will offer it to tax. An example, suppose Mr. Sham got FD in the name of his sons. In the name of his minor son, Mr. Krishna. Okay, Master Krishna, I should say. And that FD pay interest earned was 2000 per annum. So what would be the taxable amount? What would be the taxable amount after clubbing? Clubbing हुआ Mr. Sham के hand में 2000 minus 1500 of exemption, so 500 would be taxable. So 500 would be taxable. Now, had this interest would be of sorry, 1000 rupees. So exemption कितने का मिलता? 1000 का मिलता instead of 1500. ठीक है? Clear? So clubbing provisions same. Minor से जो income अगर मैंने property minor के नाम पे कर दिया, तो obviously rent which is coming from that would be clubbed. No, that is deemed ownership. That is deemed ownership. Section 27. If you transfer any asset to your minor child, excluding minor married daughter, excluding minor married daughter, if you transfer any asset to your minor child, then you are the deemed owner. And hence clubbing are not applicable, but deemed ownership say you are the owner, hence you have to pay the tax on it. ठीक है? But if मैंने minor के नाम पे कोई FD कराया, generally FD interest आ जाए, उस पे कुछ interest आया, that would be taxable in my hand if I am the person who is earning the higher income than the other parent, and the exemption which would be allowed is 1500. But there are few cases where clubbing provisions does not apply. यहाँ पे minor का income will not be clubbed. So minor का income will not be clubbed when minor is suffering from any disability referred under section 80U. What is 80U? So अगर कोई minor को कोई severe disability है, तो उनका income is not clubbed in the hands of parents. Number 1. Number 2, if income is derived by minor from manual work or from any activity involving a skill, talent, or specialized knowledge, then income is not clubbed. An example, you have seen KBC Junior. KBC Junior में whatever the person earned from his skill, it was from his skill. So KBC Junior में एक minor गए, Master Ishan win 1 crore rupees. 1 crore rupees. In that case, 1 crore would not be clubbed because minor has earned from his skill. See, student, back to the intention of clubbing provisions. The intention of clubbing provisions are when you are diverting the funds, when you are diverting the assets and diverting the funds and all those stuff, right? When you are actually planning to evade tax, right? But jahan pe, when the minor is skillfully earning means he is genuinely earning out of his skill. Those incomes we will not club. So suppose जो Dance India dance में a small junior में a person wins or a junior person, the minor child wins and get a prize money, that income would not be clubbed. ठीक है? So intention, अगर यहाँ पे ये वाला income भी club करते थे, the intention of clubbing provisions would have been defeated. That's why only those incomes which are within intent of diverting, those income are clubbed. But those which are earned skillfully, जैसे remuneration, Similarly, here also a person is earning from his own skills. The incomes are not clubbed. Clear? But हाँ, अगर आपने कल को टैलेंट का पैसा सपोज करो उस पर विनिंग आया था 1 करोड़ का, कौन बनेगा करोड़पति से? That 1 crore you invested in an FD, and that FD now you are sitting back and chilling and getting interest. That would be clubbed. That would be clubbed. Okay. So students will take break, but just 5 minutes of this chapter left. Then 5 to 6 minutes of this chapter left. Then we'll take a break. So that the entire chapter is over. अभी तक किसी को कोई डाउट बताओ फटाफट. अब कोई क्वेश्चन माइंड में आ रहा है? इंटेंशन क्लबिंग का रखोगे, क्वेश्चन वुड बी क्लियर. अगर इंटेंशन क्लबिंग का नहीं रखोगे, सो यू माइट क्रिएट अ हाइपोथेटिकल सिचुएशन. $30 lakhs would be taxable in the hands of minor. आप उसका रिटर्न भर के फाइल करो या वो टीडीएस काट लेते हैं, दैट इज अ सेपरेट थिंग. Yes, Prabhas, in the subsequent year, if the higher income parent is having a lower income, then also the income would be clubbed in the hand of lower income वाला parent. एक बारी clubbing start हो गया एक parent के साथ, it will go on and on and on with that parent only. If minor earned an income from tournament, वो किसी competition में जीत के आया, it would not be clubbed. Intention of clubbing is when the parents are diluting the funds from one person to another just to avoid tax. So वो avoid tax के चक्कर में you have to apply it through clubbing provisions. Okay. 1500 is per annum per minor. So if I have 3 minor children and तीनों को FD का interest आ रहा है, so तीनों के लिए I will get 1500 or the income earned whichever is less. Minor की income taxable ही नहीं है तो मतलब so if a minor is disabled, in that case, the person says that maybe the parents have invested because of his future. So we will not club the income. We will not club the income because the intention of parents might be that they want to keep some amount aside for his treatment or his future. So that's why they do not club the income. Okay? Disability means that there is some physically or otherwise severe disability to a person. Maybe he might be handicapped or he might not be able to see. All of these comes under disability. Yes, Himanshu, if income is earned, जैसे 1 करोड़ वो कौन बनेगा करोड़पति में, he won, and from that 1 crore the parents took an FD. From that 1 crore the parent took an FD. उस FD पे whatever interest would be coming, it would be clubbed. So final 2 छोटा topics, and then we are completed with this chapter, and then we'll take the break, okay? And then we start set off. So undoubtedly the class would be a bit longer, but both the topics will be covered in complete. No. Even if Mukta, even if 2000 rupees is getting earned, you will add it or you will club it in the hands of the assessee. Then you will see entire income whether basic exemption limit is there or not. First you will club it. Okay, good. चले आगे, great. यहाँ पे एक और चीज समझना. Now here we're talking about individual only, but from the point of view of HUF. If individual transfers a property to HUF, we are here talking about a property to HUF. Individual ने HUF के नाम पे property transfer कर दिया without advocate consideration. Then whatever the income is earned from that property, that would be clubbed in the hands of individual. Owner कौन है? HUF. But clubbing provisions से individual के hand में that rent income would be taxable. Rent income or property का capital gain income would be taxable by clubbing provisions as per section 64 subsection 2. ठीक है? Simple? Yes. अब एक चीज, individual had transferred a property to HUF. ध्यान से, individual transferred a property to HUF. Yes. इससे whatever income is getting there would be clubbed in the hands of individual. Correct? We all agree. Now HUF का partition हो गया. HUF got partition happened and partition में everyone got a share. Property किसका था on papers? HUF का. HUF divided the property. So एक मेंबर को शेयर मिला, दूसरे मेंबर को शेयर मिला, तीसरे को मिला, चौथे को मिला. Everyone got share. ठीक है? A property has been divided. The HUF has parted. So they say कि whatever share the spouse get, the spouse of the individual get, whatever share the spouse of individual get, उस share पे whatever rental income would come or whatever income would come would be taxable in the hands through clubbing provisions in the hands of individual. What did I say? यहाँ तक तो we all got clear. Here till this point, I don't think anyone has a problem. Simple individual transfer of property to HUF. So property, so whatever income is generated would be clubbed in the hands of individual through clubbing provision of section 64 subsection 2. Correct? But now individual had transferred a property to HUF. Partition happened. 6 हिस्सों में the property got divided. So whatever spouse को share मिलेगा, that would be clubbed in the hands of individual. Because we will say that the individual was very smart. He first transferred it to HUF and then HUF transferred it through partition to spouse. Ultimately, individual had to give some spouse को benefit. That's why he did all this arrangement. That's why they said कि if spouse get any property का share, उसपे whatever income is generated would be clubbed to individual. If spouse get any property का share on partition of HUF, उस property के share पे whatever income is generated that would be clubbed with individual. Clear? Last again, when we are clubbing income, we should club losses also. If income नहीं है तो loss है तो we'll club the loss amount also. So suppose a property was transferred by Mr. A to his son's wife. So इस पे whatever income is generated as in rent is generated, you will club, right? But अगर house property loss है, that also you will club. Main distinction between 61 and 64 is clear. 61 applies only to revocable transfer made by the lessee, while 64 applies to revocable as well as irrevocable made by individuals only. Okay. Last impact here is cross transfer. Cross transfers क्या होता है? Mr. A said, भाई clubbing provisions apply होते हैं. We will not make a direct transfer. What we will do is Mr. A transferred shares to Mrs. B and Mr. B transferred shares to Mrs. A. क्योंकि had they transferred it directly, clubbing provisions would have applied under section 64, correct? So they acted smart and what did they do? Mr. B ने share किसको दे दिया? Mrs. A को, and Mr. A ने shares दे दिए Mrs. B को as a gift. Now you will say that this is not a transfer. Why? There is no clubbing provision. Why? Because Mr. A ने Mrs. A को नहीं दिए, Mr. B ने दिया. ठीक है? Like this. So there was a cross transfer. But ultimately, the intention of the cross transfer was that we will be evading tax and we will be evading clubbing provisions also. We will be evading clubbing provisions also. So in that case, whatever Mrs. A is earning, whatever Mrs. A is earning from such shares would be clubbed in the hands of Mr. A, and whatever Mrs. B is earning from such shares would be clubbed in the hands of Mr. B, because they are saying कि आपने एक तरीके से indirect transfer किए. You made a transaction look like that there was no transfer between the spouses, but actually it was a transfer, but indirectly. Hence, clubbing provision would apply. So suppose on these shares, Mrs. A got a dividend of 10 lakh, then 10 lakh would be clubbed with Mr. A. On these shares, Mrs. B got a dividend of 8 lakhs, and 8 lakhs would be clubbed with Mr. B. Okay, instead of what they did, instead of transferring the shares directly to Mrs. B, they transferred it to Mrs. A to show कि कुछ गड़बड़ नहीं है. But actually में गड़बड़ था. Actually my intention was to make it such to show it in such a way that it will not attract clubbing provisions, but it was done with an intention of avoiding clubbing provision. Hence such income would be clubbed in the hands of individual. So where the transfer are so intimately connected as to form part of a single transaction, and each transfer constitutes consideration for other by being a mutual or otherwise, such circuitous method was adopted as a device to evade tax. Implications of clubbing provisions will thus be attracted. So instead of being over smart, don't be over smart. They say if you're making such a mutual transfer, that means you are trying to evade tax. That means the clubbing provisions would apply. So जो भी Mrs. A को earn होगा वो Mr. A को taxable हो जाएगा through clubbing, and जो भी Mrs. B को earn होगा that would be clubbed in the hands of Mr. B through clubbing. Clear? With this, we are over with our clubbing provisions. If you have any doubt, you can ask. It is an important chapter, so do not skip. But yes, this is for sure. अगर आज का class समझ आ गया, you can revise this chapter in 1 hour for the first time, and in 30 minutes when you're doing it for the second or the third time. So it is such a scoring chapter, but an easy chapter too. Yes, loss would be clubbed like house property loss. Students, I'm saying again and again, the income is clubbed in the same head had it have been earned by you. अगर वो सैलरी इनकम क्लब हो रहा है तो वो सैलरी हेड में जाएगा. अगर वो हाउस प्रॉपर्टी इनकम क्लब हो रहा है तो वो हाउस प्रॉपर्टी हेड में जाएगा. तो अगर वो हाउस प्रॉपर्टी लॉस है तो वो हाउस प्रॉपर्टी का लॉस की तरफ शो होगा. उसके बाद यू विल कैलकुलेट द टोटल इनकम ऑफ द एसएससी. उसके बाद यू विल कैलकुलेट द टोटल इनकम ऑफ द एसएससी. क्लियर मुक्ता? Yes, Himanshu, the intention is to dilute the funds. That's why clubbing provisions are applied. And if it is not covered under section 60, 61 or 64, clubbing provisions would not apply. Even if you are seeing that, yes, इसने तो गड़बड़ किया है, then also you will not apply clubbing provision because my income tax restricts only these sections. Okay, Mukta has a very interesting question. If a property is transferred in the previous year and assessment year, both got separated, then whether the clubbing would apply? The answer is no. At the time of transfer, marriage relationship should be there, and at the time of generation of income also, marriage relationship should be there to club the income. Okay? Swati, partition of HUF is just 1 second. On the screen, please. Mr. A, an individual, transferred a property to HUF, A, B, C, HUF, ठीक है, without consideration. तो इसमें we are clear कि whatever HUF को income होगा that would be clubbed in the hands of Mr. A as per section 64 subsection 2. Correct? But now actually property किसका है? HUF का. ठीक है. पार्टीशन हुआ, मेंबर्स ये थोड़ी ना देख रहे हैं कि मिस्टर ए ने ट्रांसफर किया था तो उनको वापस दे दो. पार्टीशन में द प्रॉपर्टी गेट्स डिवाइडेड अमंग द मेंबर्स. So each member got his share. ठीक है. सपोज करो there were 6 members, each member got his share. अब ईच मेंबर को शेयर मिल गया तो ईच मेंबर को जो भी इनकम होगा वो उन्हीं को टैक्सेबल होगा. करेक्ट. बट जो स्पाउस को इनकम होगा ना उस प्रॉपर्टी से, whatever spouse earns the income from that property, that would be taxable in the hands of Mr. A. That would be taxable in the hands of Mr. A through clubbing. They say this through clubbing provisions, whatever spouse is earning from the partition of the property which was transferred by individual to HF without consideration, from that property का अगर partition हुआ then spouse को जो मिलेगा उसका income would be taxed in the hands of Mr. A. उस property का income would be taxed through clubbing in the hands of Mr. A. ठीक है. Clear? Abhi, the topic is not over. We are meeting after a break. The class is not over. We have to do set off and carry forward. Okay? So please don't go and think that the class is over. We are meeting after the set off wala part. The class would be a longer class. Okay? So take a break. We'll resume by 9 o'clock. Hi everyone, welcome back. I thought that many of you thought that this is the session got early. No, the session got over early. No. Now we'll start with the second leg, which is set off. Section 61 and 64 में मुक्ता एक difference है. Section 61 is about any person. Any person revocable transfer कर रहा है, be it a company to other individual, be it a company to a partnership firm, be it anyone to anyone. But section 64 is only for individual, where the clubbing provisions are taxable in the hands of individual. अगर individual के clubbing provisions, अगर individual ने एक revocable transfer किया और irrevocable transfer किया, it is immaterial to son's wife. Then clubbing provisions happen. So revocable, section 61 is only about revocable. Section 64 is about revocable or irrevocable, does not matter. Section 61 applies to any person. Section 64 applies to only individual. Okay? Can I start? I hope you people got time and ate something. But in 1 hour, we'll try to complete our next section. One second. Sure. Prajwa, we already did. Just go through it once. If you did not understand, then we'll do it again. But revocable means where a person can get back the asset or has a right on that asset, even after transferring, in a general term. Shall we begin? Everyone back on the screen, please. Aggregation of income, set off and carry forward of loss. तीन चीजें, aggregation, set off, carry forward. Let's see what are these provisions. बहुत मजा आएगा इसको करने में. Very interesting chapter. Aggregation of income क्या होता है? When you add your total income and you add the incomes which you did not offer to tax or where you did not offer sufficient explanation. अगर आपने पढ़ा होगा under section 68, 69, 69A, 69BC, all of these in total becomes your total income. So that is called aggregation of income. Now coming to the topic which is important, set off. Set off क्या होता है? What do you mean by set off? Setting off one with another, right? Take as an example, if you have a loss in your house, if you are short of money, if you have a loss, first you will ask among your family members. Same thing happens when we talk about income. We know there are 5 heads of income. Agar the loss happens in one head, first he will try or she will try to set it off in that head itself. First he or she will try to set it off in that head itself. So, अपने ही घर पे पहले खुद you people ask. So that is called intra-head. Sorry, inter-head. Intra-head means within the same head. Intra-school competition and inter-school competition, you understand? Intra is within the same school, right? And inter is among different schools. So this adjustment which happens within the same head, one from one loss to another, that is called intra-head adjustment. अगर loss आपके घर आपको loss हुआ, you are short of money, you ask it from the family, you do not get it, then you go outside, right? and then you ask for the help. Similarly, if एक head में loss adjust नहीं होता, then they go out and ask for help. That is called inter-head adjustment. So if a loss is here, could not be set off with the income of the same head because loss is higher or there is no income, then that loss is adjusted with some other head. Okay? But first thing, always for the current year के losses में, first you will adjust it within the same head. Then if the losses are high that they cannot be adjusted, then you will go to some other head. Then even after adjusting with some other head, still there are losses. Then you say कि okay, कोई नहीं, भूल जाते हैं, अगले साल देखा जाएगा. Then you carry forward it. Carry forward means you take it to the next year. So first you will do what? For the current year losses, you will do intra-head adjustment, which is also called inter-source. Inter-source means within the same source. Inter-source means among different sources but within the same head. Then you do inter-head and then you carry forward it. Seedha you will not carry forward it, seedha you will not inter-head it. Step by step you have to go. Okay? So if I have inter-head ka example dete hain, if I have a house property loss and I have house property income. Okay, I have property A and property B. Property A se I have loss, property B se I have income. Then I will set off this loss. With the income. I will set off this loss with the income. Clear? One second. I will set off the loss with the income. So यानी मेरा taxable income कम हो जाएगा. My taxable income from house property would be reduced, right? Now, if suppose the loss was of 3 lakhs and the property income is of 5 lakhs, so my net income from house property would come as 2 lakhs. Simple. This is called intra-head adjustment. Or an example is suppose I have a business. One business is of textile, another business is of, say, steel. Textile business me I incurred a loss of, suppose, 50 lakhs. But steel business mein I had a profit of 80 lakhs. So then my taxable income under the head PGBP would come as 30 lakhs. Clear? अब हाँ, अगर ये 40 lakhs होता मैम तब क्या करते? First आप इसको adjust करते, तो PGBP income would have been reduced to 0. Then you will go to different head. Topic over? No. There are obviously certain restrictions for each adjustment. First, let's discuss that. Inter-source adjustment. Inter-source adjustment means intra-head adjustment. Okay, if in any year the taxpayer has incurred loss from any source under a particular head of income, then he is allowed to adjust such loss against income from any other source falling under the same head. The process of adjustment of loss from a source under a particular head of income against the other source under the same head is called intra-head adjustment. Adjustment of loss from business A from the profit of business B. If income from a particular source is exempt from tax, then loss from such source cannot be set off against any other income which is not chargeable to tax. This is simple. Agar uska income is not taxable, that means uska loss is also not taxable. Agar income exempt hai, that means loss bhi exempt hai. Usko main kahin I'll not do set off of it with any other income. Right? That is pretty obvious. But having said that, there are certain restrictions which are given under section 70 that, okay, you can do whatever you want. You can do adjustment under the same head, but you cannot do adjustment under the same head for these 5 types of income. There is a restriction. There is a restriction for these income for the inter-source adjustment. What are the restrictions? Loss from speculative business cannot be set off within income other than speculative business. Matlab, If I have speculative business क्या होता है first of all? How many of you know what is speculative business? This is your PGBP का part. How many of you know what is speculative business first? Quickly. Yes, Prabhas, intra-head is inter-source. Set off means setting off your losses with your income. I'll also 35 AD is not speculative business. No, that is specified business. Investment in share is speculative, in which profit is not sure. Okay, good attempt. So speculative business क्या होता है? पहले let's discuss that. Speculative business is basically a business where it is done with speculation. क्या होता है? आपको लग रहा है आप पे कर ले तो you speculate this will happen, it will happen. So intraday shares का trading in intraday you know क्या होता है? Intraday means when you purchase on the same day, you close your deal, you set it off the transaction by doing the opposite. So if you purchase an asset तो आप उसको set off करते हो by selling the shares. अगर आप sell करते हो shares को तो you purchase it to set off the transactions. These are called your intraday, where you have made an investment, but not from the investment purpose, but from your speculations that you have in market. That is intraday. Intraday से whatever income comes is your speculative business income. ठीक है, intraday dealing of shares in the same day. Intra means same day settlement of shares में same day buy sell करके you are not actually taking the delivery, but buy sell करके you are setting it off shares के case में. That is called speculative business. But exceptions क्या है? Trading in futures and options. If you're trading it in futures and options, that is your normal business income. That is not your speculative income. Trading in futures and options is not your speculative income, but yes, trading in intraday is your speculative income. So, अगर कोई speculative income का loss is there, so suppose intraday से मेरे को loss हुआ, I can set it off only with speculative income. So loss from a speculative business can only be set off with the income from a speculative business. I cannot adjust my loss from speculative business with the profit of a normal business. That is not allowed. So this is a restriction on set off. कि आप speculative business के loss को नहीं set off कर सकते from normal business का loss. ठीक है? But yes, on the contrary, if there is a loss of normal business and there is a profit from speculative business, can you set it off? Yes, that is allowed. Restriction is on the loss to be set off. Restriction is on the loss to be set off, and that is speculative business का loss only from speculative income. उसका loss मेरी normal income को reduce नहीं करना चाहिए. That loss should not, your speculations loss should not reduce my normal income. But yeah, my normal income loss can reduce my profit from speculative income. Restriction is not vice versa, but only one way. Loss from speculative business cannot be adjusted from the profit of normal business. So even if it is within the same head, dono are not allowed. Even if it is within the same head, still you cannot do loss from speculative business to profit from speculative business. Okay? Or profit from non-speculative business. That is not allowed. Similarly, loss from specified business अब वो होता है which is under 35 AD. Like your infrastructure facilities wala business, maintaining cold chain facilities, hotels, hospitals, वो वाला. That is specified business. So अगर उससे कोई loss आ रहा है, that also would be adjusted with specified income only, specified business income only. So I can adjust my loss from cold chain facility with a profit of my hospital facility. Okay, of minimum 100 beds. I can do that. I can adjust that. Okay. So loss from specified business can be adjusted with profit of specified business only. Loss from specified business cannot be adjusted with profits of normal business. इसमें तो देखो ना, initial years में loss would be there. Why? Because capital expenditure का deductions are also allowed. So definitely there would be loss, right? Definitely there would be loss. But that loss should not impact कि मैं normal business income को भी reduce कर दूँ, right? Normal business income को भी reduce कर दूँ, वो allowed नहीं होगा. That's why loss from specified business will only be adjusted with income from specified business. Clear? Wait out. Sneha, the word is right, but yeah, you will not write it that when you write it in exam, okay? बाबा बिजनेस इंडिविजुअल का ही होगा ना मुक्ता, या किसी और एंटिटी का हो, किसी का भी हो सकता है बिजनेस, तो जरूरी तो नहीं है कि इंडिविजुअल का नहीं होगा. करेक्ट? हॉर्स रेस इज नॉट स्पेक्युलेटिव. वेरी गुड रफीक भाई. सो एवरीवन न्यू. नहीं, even if you see specified business है, तो obviously you will be claiming 35 weighted deduction. Only with specified income you can set it off. But yeah, vice versa, point is not there. You can adjust normal business loss with the specified business income, but loss from specified to normal not allowed. Okay. Next is loss from owning and maintaining race horses. If you remember, casual income में, one thing is clear that crossword puzzles, lottery, etc. पे no loss is allowed. No loss is allowed in the sense means no expenditure is allowed. Expenditure नहीं होगा तो loss आएगा. Because puzzles में, if you're winning, then only it would be taxable. If you're not winning, nothing would be taxable. But no expenditure also would be allowed. So there would be no possibility of loss. Remember casual income? But I told you maintaining of race horses में क्या होता है? Race horses, you put your race horses for races. उसमें you have to spend good amount for maintaining the horse. For maintaining the horse, right? Proper stable होना चाहिए. They should get good things to eat. Proper maintenance उनका लगता है. So right expenditure could have been there, right? So expenditure जो होगा, that is allowed as deduction. That is allowed as deduction from the calculation of income. So suppose मेरे को horse winning में 3 lakhs rupees मिले, but मैंने horse maintaining में 4 lakhs rupees लगा दी. So 1 lakh is a loss. 1 lakh is a loss from the business of owning and maintaining race horses. 3 lakhs were winnings, but 4 lakhs I spent it on maintaining the horse. So 1 lakh is my loss. So this 1 lakh of loss can adjust it with only the income of income which is coming from owning and maintaining resources. It cannot be adjusted with any other income. It cannot be adjusted with any other income. Clear? So loss from owning and maintaining resources only with loss from owning income from owning and maintaining resources. Next and most common and very important, long-term capital gain. Long-term capital gain can only be adjusted with long-term capital loss. Long-term capital gain is allowed to be adjusted only with long-term capital loss and no other income. Sorry, long-term capital loss can only be adjusted with long-term capital gain. My bad, sorry. Long-term capital loss can only be adjusted with long-term capital gain. It cannot be adjusted with short-term capital gain. Ma'am, why so? Long-term capital loss कितने पे tax होता है? 20%. Right? शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल गेन कितने पे टैक्स होते हैं? अगर स्लैब रेट्स पे जा रहा है, आई एम अज्यूमिंग इट हैज हायर इनकम 30% पे, राइट? अगर ये 20% वाला लॉस मेरी 30% वाली इनकम को रिड्यूस करेगा तो गवर्नमेंट को देयर वुड बी अ लॉस, गवर्नमेंट को नुकसान होगा। 20% वाला लॉस मेरा हायर रेट ऑफ इनकम को सेट ऑफ कर रहा है, so there is a problem to government. So they say that long term capital loss can be only adjusted with long term capital gain. Ma'am, what about short term capital loss? Can it be adjusted? Yes, short term capital loss can be adjusted with both long term gains and short term gains, but long term capital loss can only be adjusted with long term capital gain. ठीक है, आप 30% वाले को 20% से रिड्यूस कर रहे हो, नो प्रॉब्लम, बट 20% जिस पे टैक्स लग रहा है, यू आर रिड्यूसिंग इट फ्रॉम अ 30% वाला इनकम, दैट इज अ प्रॉब्लम। गवर्नमेंट वुड से कि 30% वाला इनकम आप रिड्यूस कर रहे हो मेरा लोअर रेट ऑफ इनकम से, वो आई विल नॉट अलाउ इट। That's why long-term capital loss only with long-term capital gain, but short-term capital loss can be adjusted with both the gains. Clear? So what are the restrictions? Restrictions: speculative business only with speculative income, loss from speculative business only with speculative income, loss from specified business only with specified income, loss from maintaining resources only with income from maintaining resources, no loss allowed from winning lotteries, etc., and long-term capital loss only with long-term capital gain. Okay, this is clear. Intra-head adjustment clear. Now we move to inter-head. Obviously, it may happen that remember that same, agar apne ghar se you do not get money, then you go to the next house, which is your outside the head. So it may happen that within the source there is not sufficient income to adjust the losses. Within the source there is not sufficient income to adjust the losses. Then what we will do? We will move to some other head. We will move to some other head and we will adjust it. Agar mera kahin aur head pe income hai, I will adjust it from that head. So agar mera house property ka loss hai, I can adjust it from salary income. Or if I have business PGBP loss, I can adjust it from PGBP loss, I can adjust it from my house property income. Aapas mein we can adjust all these things. So this is called your inter-head adjustment. But सबसे पहले what you will do for the current year? Always intra-head. Then you will go to inter-head. Okay. But अब इसमें भी there are restrictions. इसमें भी there are restrictions. Ma'am, what are the restrictions? First, the restrictions are same like what we did in inter-source. Like what we did in inter-source or intra-head. That speculative business को you can only do it with loss from speculative business only with speculative income. अब बाबा अगर वो within head ही allowed नहीं है तो उसको outside head तो you can obviously not adjust. The speculative business loss only with speculative business income. Same loss from specified business only with specified business income. So that means I cannot adjust it with any other head also. ठीक है? I cannot adjust it with any other head. Don't worry, we'll do one question. Then obviously loss from maintaining resources. Same. Only with income from maintaining resources. So जो intra-head restriction है, that will obviously imply to inter-head restrictions also, correct? The intra-head restriction will obviously apply to inter-head restrictions. Long-term capital loss only with long-term capital gain income. So that means अगर वो किसी और अपने ही इनकम से एडजस्ट नहीं हो सकता तो किसी और इनकम से तो वैसे भी अलाउड नहीं है, ठीक है? ये तो हुआ, बट इसके साथ साथ यू हैव टू रिमेम्बर फ्यू थिंग्स दैट कैपिटल गेन लॉस इन टोटल कैन नॉट बी एडजस्टेड विद एनी अदर इनकम. Capital gain loss in total cannot be adjusted with any other income. So if I have short-term capital loss, you will adjust it with long-term capital gain income or short-term capital gain income. But उसके बाद भी under the head capital gain, there is a loss coming. I cannot adjust it with any other income. I cannot adjust it with any other head. So even after setting within the internal set off, there is still a loss coming. I cannot set it off with any other head. Okay. Secondly, PGBP income cannot be set off with salary. This is written in your law that you cannot adjust PGBP ka loss with your salary income. PGBP loss is not allowed to be set off with your salary ka income. Okay. And the last and the most important, which is applicable from past 3-4 years only, that house property ka loss can be adjusted with any income. That is clear. Can be adjusted with any income, but only up to 2 lakhs. Ma'am, meaning, so say my house, there is salary income and there is house property income. Only 2 incomes I have. Okay? House property mein I have A house and B house. A house mein I had 8 lakhs ka loss and B house mein I had 3 lakhs ka income. First I will do intra-head adjustment. How much income is coming outside? 8 lakhs ka loss hua, 3 lakh ka income hua. How much is the net income from house property? 5 lakhs. I have a salary income of 15 lakhs. So you say, कि मैम पूरा का पूरा adjust करके taxable income would be 10 lakhs, right? In general, you will say that. But I'll say no, because there is a restriction to set off house property loss from other sources other than house property, from any other source other than house property or from any other head, only up to the extent of 2 lakhs. Only up to the extent of 2 lakhs. So I can only adjust 2 lakhs. So this would be 13 lakhs would be taxable. And what about 3 lakhs? Carry forward hoga na. Aage dekhe jayenge next year mein. So only 2 lakhs is allowed to be adjusted with any other head except house property head. So what are the restrictions? If I talk about the restrictions in my inter-head adjustment, one is PGBP loss cannot be set off with salaries income. Capital gain loss cannot be set off with any other income. House property loss can be set off with any other income, but up to the extent of 2 lakhs only. Business and maintaining resources, speculative business, specified business cannot be adjusted with any other income. Clear? मैम सैलरी का लॉस, सैलरी में कभी लॉस नहीं आता. अदर सोर्सेज में लॉस आता है, सेट ऑफ होगा, कैरी फॉरवर्ड होगा किसी के साथ भी. मैम इफ आई हैव हाउस प्रॉपर्टी लॉस, कैन आई एडजस्ट इट विद कैपिटल गेन इनकम? If I have house property loss, can you adjust with capital gain income? The answer is yes, you can, up to 2 lakhs. Capital gain ka loss cannot be adjusted with any other income, but capital gain is open to take the loss of any other income. Okay, so capital loss cannot be adjusted with any other income, but loss from other heads can be adjusted with capital gain income. Clear? Ma'am, can we do one question? Yes. Now see, this question is very interesting. Assessment year 22-23 means salary income computed. Where it is written computed, you will not get 50,000 rupees ka deduction, standard deduction. This is computed means final income from salary. Loss from self-occupied property, 70,000. Loss from let-out property, 1,50,000. Business loss, 1 lakh. Bank interest and FD, 80,000. Okay. Now let's start our adjustment. First of all, my total loss from house property is my total loss from house property is 2,20,000. Okay. And my business loss is 1 lakh. My salary income is 4 lakh. अब करते हैं कुछ. मैं 1 lakh से 4 lakh पर adjust कर सकती हूँ? नहीं कर सकती. Why? PGBP to business cannot be adjusted. मैं हाउस प्रॉपर्टी को सैलरी से एडजस्ट कर सकती हूँ? कर सकती हूँ. मैं हाउस प्रॉपर्टी से एफडी को एडजस्ट कर सकती हूँ? कर सकती हूँ. I can adjust house property with FD income, which is my other sources. I can adjust house property with my salary income. But I will adjust it with what? Whether I'll adjust with salary or whether I first adjust with other sources. I अपनी मर्जी है, but with whom I'll adjust? Obviously from salary. Why? Because salary is restricted only. Salary का loss, sorry, salary का income cannot be used for adjusting business loss. So salary otherwise is just standing. Agar if I'll adjust my other sources का income with house property का loss, then business loss तो unnecessary carry forward होगा, right? So to the best, what is the best adjustment? कि मैं house property का loss salary से adjust कर लूँ, which is open for adjustment, and business का loss मैं other sources से adjust कर लूँ, right? Though there is no restriction, the house property loss cannot be adjusted with other sources, but out of common sense, this person is accepting me, as in this person is accepting the house property loss, but this person is not accepting the business loss. It's better to adjust the house property loss from it. So 4 lakh may say I'll adjust how much? Only to the extent of 2 lakh. So my salary income taxable is 2 lakh. My house property taxable is 0, but 20,000 is carry forward. 20,000 is carry forwarded. And now from the business loss point of view, how much business loss would be adjusted? Complete 80,000 other sources say. So I can only adjust up to 80,000. So 20,000 a business loss would be carry forwarded. So where intra-head does not happen, inter-head does not happen, what you do? You carry forward it. So what is the total income? Total income would be 2 lakh salary, house property 0, 20k carry forwarded, business loss 20k carry forwarded, other income 0. So total income would be 2 lakhs, which you will write with 20,000 being carry forwarded to next year of house property loss and 20,000 carry forward business loss. Clear? किसी को कोई doubt? Take your time to absorb the question. Salary means there would be no loss because standard deduction, Sumesh, standard deduction is 50,000 or the salary income, whichever is less. Salary means there is never loss. House property with salary, with TJVP, with income from other sources, and also Puja from capital gain also you can adjust. Agar capital gain net, if the net income under the head capital gain is positive, that is there is a profit, then you can adjust your house property loss from that also, but up to 2 lakhs. Capital loss cannot be adjusted with any other income. Business loss can be adjusted with house property income and other sources income. Business loss can be adjusted with house property and your other sources का income आराम से. Yes, Mufta, अगर 2,50,000 का house property loss है तो only 2 lakh can be adjusted inter-head. Yes, obviously we'll be carry forwarding it. Remember, अभी मैंने आपको 3 चीजें बोला था, intra-head, inter-head, carry forward. Specified business way, Prabhas, you have a very valid question, but from tax planning point of view, I will always claim loss under specified business. Why? Because it would be carry forwarded and I can adjust in future. So I will better always claim loss under my specified business. सिर्फ restrictions याद रखोगे, you can obviously do the question. It is a very, very simple question. And इसमें से chances of MCQ coming is very high. Why would you claim a loss under 3580? Because you will get a benefit in future. Deductions में तो there is a limit. Up to the income only you will tax. Other part would go in vain. So that's why 3580 he will always claim. Okay, now what will happen? Carry forward of unadjusted lot for adjustment in the next year. अब सिंपल सा चीज है, वेरी सिंपल सा चीज. You did intra-head, then you did inter-head. Still there are losses. जैसे अभी हमने देखा 20,000 each for house property and business. You did set off, कुछ नहीं हुआ, right? Set off is adjusting the losses of current year with the income of the current year. Adjusting the losses of current year with the income of the current year. ठीक है? If losses still are there, you carry forward it. You carry forward it. Okay, you carry forward it. Now, once you carry forward the loss, remember this is a golden rule. It except unabsorbed depreciation, it will only be adjusted with the same head. उसमें carry forwarded loss का there would not be a treatment of going to inter-head and all those things. Carry forwarded loss would be adjusted with the same head only. Once a loss is carry forwarded, it would be adjusted only with the same head. इसको बांध लो बात को. See, carry forwarded loss only under the same head, except obviously unabsorbed depreciation. So if now this 20,000 का loss जो house property का got carry forwarded would be adjusted with house property income only. He will not go to other houses or other heads to ask for help. This 20,000 का same year loss हो रहा है, you will adjust it maximum to other heads income, but carry forwarded loss would be adjusted now in the next year with the current year का head only. Current head same, current year income of the same head only. You will not go from one place to another. Clear? So simple सा concept है. You carry forward a loss in the year when it is brought forwarded. It would be adjusted under the same head. Now, carry forward set off का there are two provisions, section 70, section 71. Carry forward के case में each head has its own section. Each head of income has its own section. Now, what are this? What did I say? Each head has its own income provision. So house property का loss is carry forwarded under section 71B. पहले क्या होता है? Set off and carry forward होता है. उसके बाद carry forward and set off होता है. मतलब first in the year of loss you set off the losses and whatever is left you carry forward it. Now once the loss is carry forwarded, you adjust it. That is called carry forward and set off. ठीक है? So carry forward and set off of house property loss, section 71B. If loss under the head income from house property cannot be adjusted up to the extent of 2 lakhs in the year in which such loss is incurred, then unadjusted loss will be carry forwarded. So taking the illustration which we just did, taking the example illustration 1, उसमें 20,000 का loss would be carry forwarded. In the subsequent year, such loss can be adjusted only against the income of house property. Such loss can be carry forwarded for 8 years immediately succeeding the year in which such loss is incurred. मतलब, if my loss is incurred for assessment year 2020, 2021, then I can carry forward it to 8 years. That means 21, 22, 26, 27 and 28. So 28, 29 तक I can carry forward the same loss. If you have seen any return of income, वहाँ पे it comes के to which year this loss belongs to. ठीक है? I will carry forward it the loss. अगर 20,000 मैंने carry forward किया 21, 22 में, there was still no income to adjust. Then I will carry forward that 20,000 का loss again in 22, 21. Then I will carry forward it again in 23, 24, 24, 25 and so on. I will keep it on carry forwarding up to 8 years. 8 years के बाद क्या होगा? वो lapse हो जाएगा. After 8 years, the loss would be lapsed. So, if I cannot adjust the house property loss, after carrying forwarding it for 8 years, it will get lapsed. It will get lapsed. But, ma'am, suppose this 20,000 का loss हुआ, ठीक है? How will we set it forward? This 20,000 का loss was, suppose it was for previous year 21, sorry 2021. ठीक है. Now we are talking about previous year 21-22. अब मैम इस ईयर 4 लाख का इनकम हुआ हाउस प्रॉपर्टी ए में, प्रॉपर्टी बी में 4,50,000 का लॉस हुआ. ओके, प्रॉपर्टी ए में 4 लाख का इनकम है, एवरीवन प्लीज लिसन केयरफुली, एंड प्रॉपर्टी बी में 4,50,000 का देयर इज अ लॉस. First, whether I will adjust this brought forwarded 20,000 or whether I'll adjust this current year ka loss. This is current year. Whether I will adjust this brought forwarded loss of 20,000 with 4 lakhs or first whether I'll adjust 4,50,000. The answer is always first you will adjust current year losses, then you will adjust carry forwarded losses. So current year ka loss adjust करके 50,000 का loss मेरे पास आ गया for current year 21-22. If I have any other income to adjust it from, I will adjust it from. Otherwise, suppose I have no other income, then 50,000 also would be carry forwarded and 20,000 also would be carry forwarded. 20,000 would be carry forwarded subsequently 7 years and 50,000 ka fresh 8 years start over. Why I asked 20,000 7 years? Because first year of carry forwarded has happened. Now 7 years are left. ठीक है. Now next year जाके suppose previous year 20, ये ध्यान से समझो guys, previous year 21-22 में I got 20,000 का loss. Then previous year assessment year कर लेते हैं. Assessment year 21-22 में I got 20,000 का loss. Now assessment year 22-23 में there is house property A and there is house property B. House property A had a profit of 4 lakh, house property B had a loss of 4.5 lakh. And also this 20,000 is carry forwarded. What I will do first, हम current year को resolve करेंगे. Current year को resolve किया, कितने का net loss आ गया? 50,000. ठीक है? And I have no other income. I have no other income left. So what would happen at the end of assessment year 22-23? 50,000 would be carry forwarded for which belongs to assessment year 22-23, and 20,000 will also be carry forwarded which belongs to assessment year 21-22. Now in assessment year 23-24, this example is not there, so please sit in your module. So please listen carefully. Now in assessment year 23-24, suppose my house property A has an income of 5 lakhs and house property B has an income of or has a loss of 3 lakhs. What I'll do, I will adjust it first. One second. So I was saying, suppose house property A has a loss of income of 5 lakhs and house property B has a loss of 4.5 lakhs. Now, what is the net income? What is the net income in my head of house property? 50,000. Now I have a brought forward loss of 50,000 and a 20,000 loss. Okay, abhi still 50,000 is there. One thing we know that the loss which is brought forwarded or carry forwarded can be adjusted under the same head. So house property mein abhi 50,000 ka income is there. Now which loss I will adjust? Will I adjust this or will I adjust this first? Common sense say I will adjust this 20,000 first. And why? Pehle I will adjust loss for assessment year 21-22. And someone say why? Why I am adjusting 21-22 pehle? Because this will lapse. This has a time period of 8 years and वो 1 साल पहले start हुआ है. So obviously 8 years will end soon for this than this. So first I will adjust 20,000 21-22 का. Then I will adjust 20,000 20 remaining जितना profit है 30,000 for 22, 23, and then remaining 20,000, which is still left, to be carry forwarded, which is still left to be adjusted, would be carry forwarded. So my house property income for assessment year 23-24 would be 0, and the loss again वो फिर से next year चला जाएगा. कौन सा? Assessment year 22-23 का loss, which is 20,000, which is still to be adjusted. So थोड़ा simple है. जितना आता है इनकम एडजस्ट करते जाओ, आगे बढ़ते जाओ, एडजस्ट करते जाओ, आगे बढ़ते जाओ. पहले कौन सा एडजस्ट करोगे? जो सबसे पुराना है. व्हाई? बिकॉज 8 years का टाइम पीरियड इसका स्टार्ट हो गया. So first you will adjust that. इनकम आता है एडजस्ट करो, नहीं आता और नेक्स्ट ईयर करो, फिर नहीं आता और नेक्स्ट ईयर करो. बट हाँ, एंड तक इफ नथिंग हैपेंस सो एवरीथिंग वुड बी सेटल्ड. सो 21-22 के लिए जब मैंने 22-23 में गई, आई डिड नॉट हैव एनी इनकम टू सेट ऑफ द कैरी फॉरवर्डेड लॉस. देन वी ये भी चला, 50,000 आ गई, 20,000 भी आगे चला. नेक्स्ट ईयर में आई हैड इनकम, सो फर्स्ट आई वुड हैव एडजस्टेड माई इमीडिएट first I will adjust my extremely old wala loss, then I will adjust my next loss. So isliye 20,000 kiya, 30,000 left, so 20,000 of assessment year 22-23 is what is getting carry forwarded. Clear? Of how much amount? 20k. The loss is still getting carry forwarded. See this example and tell me if there is any doubt on this. Very good, Sneha. Absolutely correct. So most of you gave the right part. Pooja gave the right part. Everyone gave a correct part. Correct, Mukta. For carry forwarded loss, no other head has to be taken for consideration. You cannot adjust it with any other head. Even if you have, if you have discontinued business, you will not adjust it with any other head. Yes, it is mandatory first to do intra-head adjustment. First you will set off always. भाई किसी और का भला करने से पहले first you will think of the current years. ठीक है, current year की losses को set off करो intra-head, inter-head. Then brought forwarded losses को set off करो after if anything is left from current year adjustments. And कौन से को पहले set off करोगे? जो सबसे पुराना होगा. ठीक है, from which is the oldest. Oldest को set it off and then forward it. ठीक है. So this is what you have to follow. First current year intra-head, then current year inter-head, and then brought forwarded. Arey Baba, agar there is no income mukta, then there would be no set off. It would lapse. Correct, you can say FIFO method. Yes, 20k ka remaining period would be 7 years. From the time the loss is incurred, it can be carried forwarded to 8 assessment years, subsequent 8 assessment years. So if I have incurred it in assessment year 2021, so 22-23 say the period of 8 years started, not from 2021. Guys, you understand one carry forward का part, others are extremely easy to understand. उसमें कुछ है ही नहीं. But always remember, loss from one head can only be adjusted from once carry forwarded can be adjusted under the same head only, except unabsorbed depreciation. Unabsorbed depreciation can be adjusted with any head except salary. ठीक है, समझ लिया? वेरी गुड. अब आते हैं नेक्स्ट सेक्शन कैरी फॉरवर्ड का बिजनेस लॉस. Business loss, but other than speculative business loss. We are talking about normal business loss, not speculative business loss. So, if loss of any business profession other than speculative business cannot be fully adjusted in the year when it is incurred, then unadjusted loss can be carried forwarded for making adjustment in the next year. Just we saw for house property. In the subsequent year, such loss would only be adjusted from PGBP head. We know, right? Such loss again can be carried forwarded for 8 years immediately succeeding the year in which loss is incurred. Clear? Above provisions are not applicable. ये वाला part अभी I'll tell you. बाकी सब देखते हैं. Above provisions are not applicable in case of unabsorbed depreciations. Provision relating to unabsorbed depreciation are discussed later. This is important. Only the person who has incurred the loss is entitled to carry forward or set it off. Hence, the successor of business cannot carry forward or set off the loss of his predecessor except in case of succession of inheritance. Now, what does this mean? Suppose Mr. A had a business. Okay? He sold that business to Mr. B. Mr. A had incurred a loss in the business and he had carry forwarded loss of huge amount. 50 lakhs he carry forwarded loss. Okay? Can Mr. B set off those losses? If suppose Mr. B will run the same business, the answer is no. The person who incurs it can only set off the loss. But suppose if Mr. A has given his business to his son, then son can set off such losses. Inheritance में अगर आपको कुछ business मिलता है, if you get a business in inheritance, then that person can set off the losses of the successor. Otherwise, it is not allowed. Also, another interesting thing is, suppose, another example, another very interesting thing. Suppose I am running a business of textiles. ठीक है? उसमें I incurred loss. 40 lakhs का loss is being incurred and carry forwarded. So I said, now it's time. I cannot take this business. So I started some other business. I started a business of recycling. Textile business is closed. After 2 years, मैंने बहुत loss ले लिया, 40 lakhs का loss हो गया. So I closed the business and I started recycling business. अब recycling business में I'm earning profit 50 lakhs. First year में I earned the profit. Okay. So can I adjust a loss of a discontinued business with another business? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. I am the CSE. I incurred the loss. I can carry forward it. Can I adjust it with any other business? Yes, I can adjust it with any other business. Even if the loss which I'm carrying forwarding, uska business is discontinued, still I can carry forward it and adjust it with some other business. See, the idea is that you should have incurred the loss. If you have incurred the loss, then you are allowed to carry forward it. इसलिए Mr. B को allow नहीं हुआ because he did not incur it. And son को क्यों allow हो गया? Because inheritance is allowed when we talk about carry forward. ठीक है? So these are the 2 points which you have to take care of. Any doubt up till now? किसी को कोई भी छोटा सा doubt? Take your time to absorb what we taught. Yes, it is. Successor can adjust the loss of discontinued business with the running business. Successor का मतलब inheritance से है. If inheritance predecessor का business उनको inheritance में मिला है, he can. But Mr. D, who has not inherited the business but has purchased it, he cannot. पक्का से? Great. No, sir, no. We'll take 15-20 minutes. 15 minutes more. Now, next is speculation business. So what will happen? Speculation business may we know speculation business loss can only be adjusted with speculation business income. Intrahead also and interhead also. This is the restriction, correct? This is the restriction. So speculative business loss can be carry forwarded and would be only adjusted with speculative income and will only be adjusted with speculative income. Unlike business loss, which is carry forwarded for 8 years, speculative business loss is only allowed for a period of 4 years. Is only allowed for a period of 4 years. Okay? Clear? This is simple. Then next. Next loss is my specified business loss. Specified business loss again can only be adjusted with specified business income. Future में I'm carry forwarding it. जब तक specified business income is not there, I cannot adjust the specified business loss. The very, very interesting thing here is that this loss can be carry forwarded indefinitely. Indefinitely, you can carry forward this loss. Yes. Why? Because the purpose of this section is to promote, section 35 AD is to promote investments, right? अगर promote investments करेंगे and capital expenditure का loss after certain years allow ही नहीं होगा. So what is the point of allowing 35 AD, correct? So that's why they say 35 AD का losses, basically specified business का losses can be adjusted for indefinite period till the time it is fully adjusted. Loss of owning and maintaining race horses can only be adjusted for a period of 4 years, like specified business. ठीक है, please give a read to it. Next is loss under the head capital gain. Okay. Losses under the head capital gains. Now capital gain का loss can only be adjusted with capital gain का income carry forward करके भी. This we all know, correct? If the loss under the head capital gain incurred during the year cannot be adjusted in the same year with the capital gains, then adjusted capital loss can be carry forwarded to next year. In the subsequent year also, such loss can be adjusted only against the capital gain income. However, long-term capital loss can be adjusted only against long-term capital gain income. Short-term capital loss will be adjusted with both the income. So once you carry forward it, the restrictions of intra-head will always apply. Once you carry forward it, the restrictions of intra-head will always apply. Here, the carry forward ka period is 8 years. Carry forward ka period is 8 years, just like business, just like house property. So can I conclude that house property loss, business loss, capital gain loss, business में other than speculative, can be carry forwarded 8 years. Speculative business and horse races can be carry forwarded for 4 years. Specified business can be carry forwarded indefinitely. Similarly, unabsorbed depreciation unabsorbed depreciation can be carry forwarded indefinitely. So if I have to adjust unabsorbed depreciation, I can carry forward it indefinitely. Students, एक चीज समझना, brought forward law, मैम loss और depreciation में क्या problem है? So suppose I have 10 lakhs का income before depreciation and there is 11 lakh ka depreciation. So I will not say there is 1 lakh ka loss. I will say there is an unabsorbed depreciation of 1 lakh. It is not 1 lakh ka loss. It is unabsorbed depreciation of 1 lakh. Okay, so always a business for income tax purpose segregates it as unabsorbed first segregate it as depreciation, and then it segregates it as loss. Now suppose I have 15 lakhs ka loss before taking the adjustment of depreciation. Suppose my depreciation is of 10 lakhs. So I will not say that 25 lakhs is my business loss. I'll say my brought forward my losses to be set off is 15 lakhs, and my unabsorbed depreciation is 10 lakhs. 10 lakhs would be carry forwarded for indefinite period. 15 lakhs would be carry forwarded for only 8 years. Okay? So you break up the entire loss into unabsorbed depreciation and loss other than unabsorbed depreciation. Okay? And then you carry forward it. Order of set off. First adjustments are to be made for current year. Current year में अगर मैं business की बात करूँ, if I talk about my business perspective, business income के point से बात करूँ, first I will adjust current year scientific research, current year family planning expenditure, current year depreciation. Then I will make the adjustment for brought forward business losses. Then I will make the adjustment of unabsorbed depreciation. Then I will make the adjustment of scientific research, and then I will make the adjustment of family planning. Iska bhi there is no period. If you have read section 35, there is no period limitation. Brought forward business loss ko first I will adjust. Why? Because it is 8 years ka period, and then the depreciation I will adjust later because it is indefinite period. And capital expenditure on scientific research bhi indefinite period hota hai, and family planning bhi indefinite period hota hai. ठीक है? Clear? Acha, one thing always remember as per my, we'll do few questions, probably 2 questions, and then we'll wrap the class because that will solidify my earning. 1 second. It is very important to file your return within time. Within time क्या होता है? 31st July is the due date for filing of return. Of 31st July, the assessment is the due date for filing of return for the assessment year. If you are not eligible for audit, if audit is applicable to you, then it is 31st October. So that is your return filing dates, which you have seen. So if you want to carry forward your losses, you have to file your return of income timely. You cannot file a late return or do not file a return and then you will say, I have incurred the loss. Timely return file karna is very important. But there is an exception. House property loss you can carry forward even if you file a late return. Okay? अगर आप late return file करते हो, then also you can carry forward the loss. So section 139(1), the timeliness is not important for house property loss and not important for your unabsorbed depreciation. These you can carry forward it without filing the return on time. But for these to carry forward from 1 year to another, you have to file your return of income in time. If you will not do it, they will lapse. Okay, so it is very important to file the return of income with time. This is what section 86. Now we'll do few questions and then we'll take your doubts. Okay. First we'll do this illustration 5. Illustration 5 चलता है. Income from salary computed 1,50,000. Income from speculation business 60,000. Non-speculation business 40,000. Short-term capital gain 80,000. Long-term capital loss of assessment year 2021 30,000. Winning from lottery 20,000. Interesting question. Let's see what we can do. First we'll do intra-head adjustment. 60 or 40. Speculation business कितना है? 60,000. Non-speculation business का loss है. Non-speculation business का loss can be adjusted with speculation income. Correct? So 20,000 is my business income. 1,50,000 is my salary income. Short-term capital gain of 80,000. Correct? I cannot adjust my long-term capital loss with whether brought forwarded or of the current year. The short-term capital gain, correct. And winning from lotteries ko to other ways also I cannot utilize. So 150 plus 20 plus 80 plus 20. 270 is my income for the year, and 30,000 is the loss which is carry forwarded to the next year, which is assessment year 23-24, because there is no long-term capital gain to adjust it. Again, I'm repeating, when you carry forward the loss, intra-head adjustments will apply, intra-head restrictions will apply. ठीक है, एक और क्वेश्चन करते हैं. But that question, I think, quickly illustration 3 we'll do, but you will do this illustration, not me. Okay? So please be honest to yourself and tell me the answer. Of this. How much is the income for the year 21-22 previous year? How much is the income for previous year 21-22? Very good, Mahadev. 1,13,000 of what? Short term, long term? Very good question, Pooja. Pooja is saying, ma'am, long term capital loss under section 112 and long term capital gain under section 112A, can they be adjusted? Yes, they can be adjusted. Even if they have different rates, yes, they can be adjusted. So long term capital gain आपको हुआ है at 112 वाला, and you have long term capital loss of 112A, you can adjust it. Definitely you can. Good. ऐसे क्वेश्चंस में एग्जाम माइंड लगाओगे, यू विल अंडरस्टैंड द कॉन्सेप्ट. बट इफ विल क्रिएट एनी हाइपोथेटिकल सिचुएशन, ऐसा हुआ तो ऐसा हुआ तो ऐसा हुआ, यू विल कंफ्यूज विद द कॉन्सेप्ट्स इटसेल्फ. Very good. So most of you, in fact all of you have given correct. 1,13,000 is the short term capital gain and the carry forwarded is 21,000. Absolutely correct. 150 में से you will adjust 37,000 first, because short term long term capital gain se you will adjust first long term capital loss 75 minus 96, 21,000 carry forwarded, and 150 minus 37, 1,13,000. Very good. Now Mr. A wala example, एक second. Mukta, this division of loss and all of these things, you will see it at final level. At your level, this is not important. वहाँ पे आता है ownership should be the same, at least 50%. वो सब everything is there in your final level. Your question is very valid, but it is not applicable at your level. Baba, Mukta, if loss will lapse if you're not filing the return, then you will file return on time, ना? Because otherwise, loss का क्या मतलब है कि future में आपको income होगा तो you can adjust it. Adjust it means you will not pay any tax or you will pay less tax. So you always want that if you want to carry forward the loss, you will file your return on time so that in future, if income incurs, your losses can be carry forwarded and set off, and ultimately income is less. ठीक है, so सबको सारे चैप्टर समझ आए? No, Mukta, if you have previous year incomes, you do not carry forward it. So Mukta has a valid question, ma'am. Profit है previous year का and loss है इस साल का, will that be adjusted with the profit of previous year? No. Previous year का the concept of carry forwarding is of losses. Previous year का profit हुआ, you paid income, कहानी over. Losses are the one which are not adjusted. वो अभी भी भटक रहे हैं इधर से उधर. They need some income to get absorbed, right? So they are carry forwarded. You never carry forward the profits. You carry forward the losses. Hence, chapter का name is set off and carry forward of losses. Very good, Sneha. Very good, Mukta. All things clear. किसी को कोई query है? Sure. पक्का से set of carry forward का questions are extremely easy. I hope you understood other sources, not other sources, capital gains. Then you understood your clubbing provisions, chapter 5 and chapter 6, income from set of carry forward. We'll be meeting again, but after a long gap of 1 week probably for advanced tax dollar chapter. But up till now, if there is any loss, any question, I'll be very happy to take. I wish, Himanshu, but I am myself, I think I need IDT. I myself is very bad in GST because we did our exams when GST was not there. So, okay. So now please practice this. Sachi mein this chapter, the notes would be uploaded. Do not worry. Sachi mein, but this chapter will not take more than 30 minutes of each if revising, and abhi one time karoge 1 hour each mein you can wrap up the chapter. So you are closing your 5 to 6 marks for free if for the exam if you are clear on this chapter. Okay, so thank you so much. See you in the next class. Till then, please take care of yourself, study well, and do take rest. Thank you so much. Bye. Yes.